Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Rangers have secured 3 points in the early kick-off at Ibrox. They defeated Hearts by 2-1. Hearts had a man sent off, Prince Blaban, but it was Barry Mackay's goal in the second half that secured them the victory. More problems there for Hearts, because if indeed Partick Thistle get a win today, they'll be within a point of the Tynecastle side, and really that's when the pressure does intensify, Ruffy, to say the least.
Yeah, I think the pressure's on them just now. I mean, the fans have had a fantastic couple of years, you know, that we keep talking about the crowd that turns up, particularly at the home games, but obviously they'll be getting a bit disillusioned. They'll be looking for somebody to come out and make a statement of what's happening at the club. They've obviously got the new stand in next year, and I think, like any other supporters, they'll want somebody to say, look, we're not happy with this crop of players, there's better players going to come in, things like that. But it's been dismal, absolutely dismal, where they were and where they are now.
Yep. Last night, the other game that took place at Pittodrie finished Aberdeen 1, Celtic 3. Strange listening to the managers after the game. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, as you would expect, delighted that the Celtic side have now reached 100 points in the Premiership table. Derek McInnes says the Dons could have won the match if they hadn't shipped 3 goals in the first 11 minutes, which... Yep. You know, sometimes I listen to what managers have to say and I'm bemused by it, Gordon.
I know what you mean, but I can understand to a certain degree why he's saying that, because it looked like, you know, Hearts, Aberdeen, should I say, just threw everything away in the early part of the game. They defended poorly. Celtic went in front. They got the goal back to make it 3-1. They had a great chance before half-time when they should have made it 3-2. Stockley's header should have been better. And I actually thought it was one of the most entertaining games I've seen this season. I think definitely it was up there quality-wise with some of the games you watch, even down in England or whatever. The first half for me was tremendous. We saw some goals. I think the third goal for Celtic was avoidable. I don't know if you saw it, Ruffy, but I thought
they were all. I think
the goalkeeper. Well, maybe, yeah. I thought the goalkeeper should have done better with the Celtic's third goal. But after it went to 3-1, I would have said, in total, Peter, I thought Aberdeen were slightly the better team. And were creating more and played really well, considering the fact they were coming down back from being like 3-0 down after 10 minutes. It was unbelievable what a start it was for Celtic. And you're thinking, is this the story? I mean, I think that's 5 times they now have beaten Aberdeen this season, and there's 1 to go. So I think maybe Derek would want to lift their confidence and build it for the cup final, because it's the 6th game they've got against Celtic. And if they play like they did from about the 12th minute onwards, right, they can make it a cup final.
Well, I was going to say, I'm so glad you cleared that up for me, Gordon. Yeah. You know, it goes up there for me, Ruffy, with Ian Cathro saying, if it hadn't have been for the goalpost, we might have been a match for Celtic at Tynecastle.
You're right, but I mean, as Gordon says there, if you're Derek McGuinness and you go home at night and you turn on the replay and you sit and watch it, first goal, Ash Taylor gets lost. You give credit to Boyata for making the run. It's obviously a planned move that he got away from him. You know, the next one, Shea Logan just lays it to Armstrong, you know, whereas the goalkeeper would have probably have saved it. And the third one, gotta give credit a wee bit to Lee Griffiths. It was a tremendous strike. Yeah. It actually moved in the air, but the goalkeeper has got to do better. I think the biggest talking point is, again, Craig Gordon and Shinnie, the clash, you know. The Aberdeen were looking for the penalty, and again the referee has got a decision he's got to make instantly. And when I saw it first of all, I went, and I watched it 5 or 6 times, and I'm sorry, but it's not a penalty for me.
The only thing I could think of that maybe that made the decision was the fact that he was never going to get on the ball. So
He'd already put the ball out.
The ball was away out of play, and it was a clash. The 2 players clashed then. But there's no doubt Shinnie got the last touch. In certain circumstances, some referees could give them, and you wouldn't be able to fault it. Yeah. But he didn't, and he just said, "Well, Shinnie's it wasn't going to score."
Well, I think the mere fact that Ruffy emphasised that he'd watched it 6 times tells you how difficult it was a call for the referee. Although I would like to, before we finish on last night's game, talk about the goal from Johnny Hayes. Great. I mean, it was absolutely top drawer.
Tremendous. You know, I would just say I don't think there's any goalkeeper would have saved that. It was almost like placed, wasn't it? Yeah. Perfect position, great skill. I thought Hayes was outstanding actually. I thought he was very good in the game. He was a player who gave Celtic a lot of problems, but the goal was it made the match, because you're thinking, Celtic, they're so far in front, they're going to hammer Aberdeen here, they're comfortable. You think we're not going to see a game of it. Then that just turned it about when you actually then you thought, there's a wee chance now they can get back in the game. And they could have, as I say, if they got the second goal with Stockley. Yeah. They might have, but I agree with you, Peter. I think one of the best goals you'll see.
Yeah, the other match that took place last night was the playoff, and it was a convincing win in the end over the two legs for Dundee United. I didn't see that coming over the last couple of months, Ruffy, but suddenly Ray McKinnon has managed to get United looking hot at the right time. 3-0 against Morton. Jim Duffy, I think, maybe will look back with pride at what his team has achieved. For Ray McKinnon, they'll have to fight another day next week against Falkirk.
Yeah, I think it's more on Morton running out of steam. I think we saw it in the last 5 or 6 weeks that their form had dipped. They weren't on the form that they were early on in the season. They were on a good run, and I think the late goal from Dundee United in the first leg maybe just stuffed it a wee bit for them, and they got into the game knowing if they lose a goal they're out of it, and they did lose a goal eventually. But you're right, for the whole season you've got to give the players and the manager a lot of credit, for getting to where they were, and he'll be hoping that he can build on that. But yeah, Dundee United seem to be motoring now.
The big factor is they've got a lift from it, Dundee United, but I agree with you, Morton really, I think it's about 11 games without a win. Their form had just dipped, and forecasting it, I think all of us just said Dundee United will be in the playoff semi-final against Falkirk. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, getting good wins, getting these wins under their belt, even maybe getting games is maybe a little bit of advantage over Falkirk. Some people might think it's the other way. Yeah. Falkirk getting the rest, but Dundee United will be on a high. 2 wins they've had from that, and they've been winning their games. I mean, I think they've had 1 defeat. I've made it in the last 10 games.
Wouldn't it be just like Peter Houston to get one over on his old side? We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that on the football show in midweek. If you can join us on STV2 at 7:30 every night of the week, Monday to Friday, and of course here on the Saturday. We're with you all the way through until 6 o'clock. Give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy on your team. Anything that's annoying you? What about that win for Rangers today? I can tell you in the Premier League in England, it finished Manchester City 2, Leicester City 1. Leicester missed a late penalty that could have actually given them a point in that match, but it wasn't to be. We're going to switch our attention to a game where, quite simply, fans are biting their nails at New Douglas Park ahead of Hamilton Accies against Motherwell. The fans are heading into the stadium, and we sent our reporter Heather Miller out there just to gauge how they think this one is going to go.
So obviously it's a very big game today for both Hamilton and Motherwell. There's like 1 point difference. So yes. Are you nervous or are you confident about today's game?
I'm confidently nervous. I'm hoping for a win. We need the win. We're desperate for a win. We're due a win. So yeah, I think we'll be fine.
I think it'll be a good game. I'd say probably it's going to be a very close game. Hamilton can be good on their day, but I think Mole's got too much up front that they can put the ball in the net.
A bit nervous because we have been struggling past couple of seasons, and this season it's just been a tough season as well.
Nervous. You never really know what to expect. Most of the season it has been a little more than a roller coaster. But fingers crossed the boys show up and play for the jersey. And hopefully get away with 3 points, because I really don't want this Bob to relegate us.
Give your opinion, who do you think will be the 2 teams that will be playing in the relegation playoffs?
I think Inverness will get relegated. I think they've left it too late to come into it. And I think Hamilton will be the other team.
Oh, Motherwell and Inverness.
Anybody apart from us.
Motherwell and Inverness. Inverness to go down on the Accies.
Yeah, and a classic football fans here. I don't want this mob to relegate us, Gordon, and
no.
That's just what it's all about, the rivalry.
Absolutely, that would be the major thing about it, being the 2 teams down there, rivals, and they have said that it's the biggest game ever between the 2 sides as well, because of the importance of it, because they don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it would all turn around today if Inverness actually won today and got within a point, and that would mean the loser of this game today, if there's a complete scoreline in it, would be in trouble, because Motherwell in particular, if Hamilton were to win, for example, and Inverness were to win, there's another game in between, but the last game of the season is up in Inverness, and it's Inverness against Motherwell. So that could become like a cup final, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't get any better than that. It is massive, and something that Louis Moult, the Motherwell striker, was keen to highlight yesterday.
We need to win the game. Simple as. It's a massive game. Saturday. Well, every game now is a massive game. It has been all season. If we could keep a clean sheet, I think we're fairly confident we're going to score in the game. With me and Scotty up top, and Bowie as well, and we've got good wingers as well now, and we've got a good squad. So if we can try and be solid at the back and then get a few goals, I think that's where we're strong.
How crucial will the goal scorers be in this game? Well, we're off to New Douglas Park right now to speak to our reporter Kevin Harper, who's there for this one. We've been talking about Motherwell week in, week out, about they have goal scorers, Kevin, but they haven't been able to step up to the plate. Today is one of those days where a sell-out Motherwell end will be hoping that they can upset their great rivals.
Yeah, very true, Peter. It's a massive pressure game today for both sides, but as you say, Motherwell, their goal scorers, Lewis Moult, I think, scored 14 goals this season, whereas Hamilton's top goal scorer, Ali Crawford, has 7. That's not to mention Scott McDonald. So they two are really, really important for Motherwell to get back on a run. They've only won one game in the last 8, Peter, and that was against Inverness with that disputed goal. Whereas Hamilton, they've won 2 of the last 8. So hopefully we'll be in for a goal fest today. But unfortunately, I don't think so, Peter. I think it'll be a tight affair with somebody special like a Moult, like a Crawford, stepping up to the plate and getting their team the 3 points.
Of course, it's one of those nail biters. I don't think a draw is good for either side, as Gordon has been emphasising as well.
No, I don't, Peter. I think one team has to win it today, because I think if Inverness win, then these two teams will be definitely looking over their shoulder. And as Gordon said, Motherwell's last game is at Inverness. Inverness will be on a run with, if they win today, having two wins in the last 2 games. So their tails will be up going into the last 2 games. Whereas whoever if any team here gets defeated today, then the pressure will be right on them.
Yeah, as you look at both sides and their form, and you've watched them quite regularly over the last few weeks, Kevin, where do you see it being won and lost here in this one?
I think it's got to be, up top, Peter, because both teams are poor defensively. That's a big issue. You can see that they concede a number of goals. So you're looking at, as I say, your Moult, Scott McDonald, Ali Crawford from midfield. But, you look at Motherwell and they do have goal scorers. Ferrer was amazing last week, Peter. Some of his crosses he put in was sensational. And Moult and McDonald just didn't get on the end of them. If he performs the way he did last week today, with the crosses he put in, I'm sure Moult and McDonald will get on a few of them today. Whereas with Hamilton, apart from Ali Crawford, I just don't see where they score the goals from.
Okay, Kevin, we'll be back to you very shortly to get the teams for that game, but it really is nail-biting stuff there between Hamilton and Motherwell at the bottom end, and it would be just like Inverness to throw a spanner in the works as well, Ruffy, and really make it tight down there.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good one for Inverness if they got it. I just think it might be bit too much. I think if they went there and got a point, and obviously hoping that Motherwell or Hamilton lose there to get within 3 points, because as Gordon said, I know their goal difference isn't particularly good, but it gives them another chance of another game to get to that last game with 3 points, and that's what we'll be hoping. But certainly, as you said, if they were to win, that would really put the cat in it.
Yep, okay. We'll be going to focus on Hamilton at Motherwell today. Kevin Harper will keep us up to date with that. You can give us your view on who you think is going to win in that match. As well as that, we're looking forward to some cracking games. We'll keep you right up to date with what's happened right across the Premiership and down south as well. One match has already finished. Manchester City 2, Leicester 1. As far as the other matches in the Premiership today, Rangers defeated Hearts by 2-1 in the early kick-off. Let's have a look at what's on offer for you to keep you right up to date with what's happening over the course of the Saturday afternoon. There's confirmation of Celtic's 3-1 win last night. It's Dundee, Ross County, Hamilton, Motherwell, Kilmarnock against Inverness, Cally Thistle, and St Johnstone against Partick Thistle. And elsewhere, the Premiership playoff confirmation of that one from last night. Dundee United 3, Morton 0, 5-1 in aggregate for Ray McKinnon side. He'll now play against Falkirk. The playoffs today, Alloa, Airdrie. That's a 1-0 slender advantage for the Airdrieonians. Wraith Rovers, Brecon City is nicely poised at 1-1. And Forfar against Annan Athletic, 2-2 there, and you can't separate them for Peterhead against Montrose after the first leg, 1-1. So we are going to have excitement, and let's not forget that League 2 playoff. That has huge implications for East Kilbride and Cowdenbeath as well. We'll keep our eye on that, see if Gary Locke can steer them to safety once again in the Professional League. Premier League in England, confirmation of last night's results. Everton defeating Watford by a 1-0. Ross Barkley with a goal, and then West Brom 0, Chelsea 1, confirmed Antonio Conte's team as the champions of England. And Manchester City defeated Leicester by 2-1 today. It's Bournemouth, Burnley, Middlesbrough, Southampton, Sunderland, Swansea, and Stoke City against Arsenal is the 5:30 kick-off. And there you can see Fulham against Reading in the Sky Bet Championship is the playoff semi-final, first leg at 5:30. So that's what's on offer across the afternoon. We'll keep you up to date. If you can't get to a match, we always say get out there, support the football, especially the Scottish football today. Get out and see a game. But if you can't and you want to stick with us, we'll keep you up to date with the goals as they hit the back of the net. So Kilmarnock against Inverness, Cally Thistle. Can Cally Thistle go to Rugby Park and win by 2-0? That's what Ruffy suggested last night on the programme. I'm going to get Gordon Smith's reaction to it in a minute. Let's have a look at the teams. McDonald, Hendry, Dicker, Ayer and Smith, and it's Wilson in the holding role with 4 in front of him. Jones, Longstaff, Frizzell, Kilty, and Salmon is the lone striker up front. That's the Kilmarnock side. Gordon Smith, Lee McCulloch has picked a team that he thinks is good enough to defeat Inverness, an Inverness side that have started to show just a sign of a revival.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that was the thing, last week's performance from them. They just scored a lot more goals. And it was one of the aspects I looked at, when looking at the teams, how they've been performing. One of the problems that Kilmarnock have had this season, Peter, is getting home wins. I mean, everybody said when they put down that AstroTurf pitch, big advantage to Killie having their own pitch for home games. They've actually got more away wins than they've got home wins this season, and they lost the last game to Dundee, with Inverness being the form team, and Kilmarnock maybe feeling to a degree that they are safe. I mean, they can't be caught by Inverness for relegation, but they could still be dragged into it if they don't pick up any points in the remaining games. But I think they're pretty safe at the moment, Killie. I think they will get out of that position, but the main thing about it is, as I say, it's how they perform today at home when their record there has been pretty poor, and I wouldn't rule out Inverness getting something from the game either.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the starting 11 for Inverness. Ryan Estlin, goal, David Raven, Gary Warren, Ross Draper, Billy Mackay, Jake Mulroney, Greg Tansey, Alec Fisher, Louis Lang, Brad Mackay and Henry Anier. Ruffy, you clearly feel confident that Richie Foran, with Maurice Malpass in the background, has installed a bit of fight into them.
Yeah, I think that team that you just read out there has got a lot of quality in it. It's got a lot of experience in it. They're a wee bit more solid at the back. But my only worry is getting carried away a wee bit with beating Hamilton last week. I mean, it's good for them to win, but we've got to look at who they've beaten. A team that has no form whatsoever. So they'll go there today, and I'm only going for Inverness because Gordon told me that that Kilmarnock are terrible at home. But I just don't know. I don't know what it is. I just feel that they've got something in them to get something out of the game. As I said earlier, I don't think it needs to be a win. Win would be great, but something out of the game, something they can hang on to for the remaining 2 games.
It depends how they perform and if they take their chances, because I've actually seen Inverness a few times this season, And although everybody's saying they're bad, they're going to be relegated, I felt that was the case because of one thing, Peter, they can't take their chances. The number of games I've watched them and they've had chance after chance, they don't take them, lose a goal, struggle, try and get back in the game and then lose another goal. And you're thinking they actually weren't playing as badly as people are assuming just because they're losing games all the time. It's just because they can't put the ball in the net. Last week against Hamilton was a good example of it, because basically at half time it could have been 5 or 6. You know what I mean? And it became a tight match because Hamilton got a very late goal, obviously. But that's the problem. And that's why today it'll be a case of whether they can go there. They've got people, they've got good players in Inverness. They've got people who are up for it, good experience in the team. It just depends whether they'll take their chances or not.
Yeah, okay. Dundee against Ross County, another match which, again, we'll be keeping a close eye on, because basically Dundee looked as if they were in big trouble until suddenly the arrival of Neil McCann. Their starting lineup for today: Bain, Holt, Vincent O'Dea, Haitley, O'Hara, McGowan, Elbach, Tui, Haber, Kerr and Gomez. That's the starting lineup that Neil McCann has chosen today. Everybody's asking, what about the future of the Dundee manager? Well, as you would expect, he's trying to deflect away from his own personal circumstances and talk mainly about his team's performances.
I've told everybody the exact same, that when I took this job it would be for the duration of the games remaining, and my focus was to get the team winning and get ourselves out of this trouble. And until that happens, those 5 games are done, I'm not prepared to talk about my situation at all, because the most important thing is the club, is the players and the fans are seeing this team in the Premiership next year.
It's a sensible approach, Robbie.
Yeah, this is a game for me. For the decision to bring in Neil McCann has been spot on. You know, whatever he's done, whatever the players have took on board since he went there. If he was to get 3 wins in the trot, you know, it is a move. We don't like to see people getting sacked, but it seems to be a reaction move, and if they win today, it's worked.
Yeah, Nick Ross mentioned that he seems to have galvanised all the players in the squad, Gordon Smith, and he also mentioned the fact that Nick Ross feels as if he himself is starting to enjoy his football again. You can look at that 2 ways. Great to have a new manager, and quite a damning indictment of the previous one.
I know to a degree that is the case, but nobody's going to say anything against their manager when they're actually in the job and all that sort of thing, because to be honest with you, you're in big trouble if you do. So most people normally say, even if they're struggling, they'll say, oh, he's still the right man for the job and all that. When he goes, the new man comes in, yeah, this is better. That's a normal case in football. But the thing about it is, he has turned things around, and it's what we've spoken about, and I've made the point quite a few times in terms of even talking about the change of managers, people coming in. The manager has a big effect in any team, and players can play better under a certain person because of 2 things: how they're treated, and secondly, just in terms of how the manager structures the formation, the team, the system of play, the pattern of play. These are big factors, and I think that Neil McCann's going in there, and obviously right away he's got a team who had lost 7 league games in the trot, and he's turned it around. 2 wins, and I think they're pretty safe at the moment. Not completely though, but they're in a much better position than they've been in. If you think about it, if they hadn't won those 2 games, they'd be sitting 2 points ahead of Inverness. So there'd been nothing in it at that stage. So these wins have been crucial.
Yeah, as far as Inverness, or as far as today's opponents, Ross County, I beg your pardon, Robbie, are concerned, Jim McIntyre's emphasised the fact that if he can finish 7th, he's hoping that position in the table will allow him extra cash to maybe bring in an additional 2 players he's looking for in the summer.
Yeah, I don't think he'll have a problem with that, with the owner that he's getting up there. I'm sure at the end of the season, if he was to go and chap his door and say, look, are you happy with what's happened this year? Let's build on it. Let's try and get into that top 6. And I'm sure the owner will back him. I think he's got a good manager up there. He's brought in some good players, and I don't think money will be a problem. And it'd be interesting to see what kind of players he wants to bring in.
Yep, it'll be keeping a close eye on Jim McIntyre's exploits. Will they get a surprise win at Dens Park today? Would it be any great surprise? You can give us your thoughts on that as well. What's our treble for today, Rafa? I've got to keep our eye on that.
Treble for today is we've actually went for some good prices today. You've went for Dundee at home. I've went for Forfar to win the playoff position, and I think Gordon is the one that's going to boost treble if it comes up, because he's went for Inverness at Kilmarnock.
Okay, that's the one I'm worried about. To be honest with you. I'm a little shaky on that one, but nevertheless, we shall see. The reason why I'm just about to, we'll talk about St Johnstone Partick Thistle after the break, because there's lots to get our teeth into with Thistle and what they've been achieving, and of course we'll hear from Tommy Wright and Alan Archibald as well. But the reason why I want to draw your attention to this next little quote is from the Rangers game after they defeated Hearts by 2-1. Pedro Cachina has been asked if he thought it was they picked up 3 points. Was it an improvement on last week's display? And he said, I don't think so. So we had a fantastic start, but after that Hearts were better by winning the challenges and the second balls. So clearly he's still not happy, and of course Ian Cathro says the spirit and the attitude was good. When I look at that, I feel very positive.
Well, that's interesting. One manager, the winning manager, is not so positive as the losing manager. That's a bit unusual in football, to be fair. But I can see in Cathro's point of view, because they did perform well with 10 men, and that was a strange aspect of it. They were actually better with 10 men. Did he change his team about? They maybe should play with 10 every week, because he changed his team about, and they were definitely getting more of the ball. They were challenging, working hard, creating chances. So, but I think Pedro Cachino is right to a certain extent too. But I felt they were better today, certainly until the Hearts got the man sent off. But they were better than they were against Partick.
Yeah. Well, the previous Hearts manager said that when certain referees were officiating at their games, sometimes they trained with 10 men in midweek because they knew they were going to get somebody sent off. Anyway, what did you make of it? If you're a Rangers fan at the game, give us your thoughts on it. If you're a Rangers fan who just reflected on the game by watching it on the telly, give us your thoughts on it at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Kick-off getting closer. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. Gordon Smith and Alan Ruff are with me, Peter Martin. We were just holding off just to try and get the Ross County side in. We were talking about Dundee just prior to the break. Ross County starting 11, Scott Fox, Jason Naismith, Liam Boyce, Jim O'Brien, Tim Chow, Andrew Davies, Michael Gardine, Marcus Fraser, Craig Curran, Ryan Dow and Martin Woods. Of course, Jim McIntyre mentioned he wanted 2 players in. I still think he'll face a fight to hold on to Liam Boyce.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. There's a few people out there, particularly in SPFL, would want somebody like that. I'm looking at Hibs, I'm looking at Hearts. You've already mentioned Rangers. Would that be the kind of player that they're looking for to take them forward? And he's had a fantastic season. I think that would be the biggest worry today for Dundee is him being back in the Ross County side, because he'll want to score goals. The more he adds, obviously, the better his value will be. And it'd be interesting to see if they can hold on to him.
OK, St Johnstone today against Partick Thistle is going to be an interesting match now for a number of reasons. Obviously, St Johnstone want to solidify their place 4th in the Premiership. But what about Partick Thistle? They've got a real opportunity to close in on Hearts, who'll be in 5th position. It could be a point behind Hearts if they can get a win today against St Johnstone. The St Johnstone side starting 11 is Manus, Scobie, McLean, Witherspoon, Swanson, Shaughnessy, Payton, Foster, Easton, Craig and Cummins. As far as Partick Thistle's side, it's Cherny, Booth, Lindsay, Osmond, Doolan, Barton, Elliott, Devine, Aziz, Keown and Edwards. So there's the 2 starting 11s. As far as the managers are concerned, their stock is growing week by week, season by season. Alan Archibald has been a man in the press over the last 7 days. Talk about Swindon being interested in him. This is what Archibald had to say on all the speculation.
I think it's always flat, and it's just a reflection on how well the club's doing in a whole, and myself, the players and all our staff. But as I say, that's all it is. There might not be any truth in it, I'm not sure, so we'll deal with it. If there's any truth in it, we'll deal with that when it comes. The club's working hard on and off the pitch now. It's the strongest our squad's been in my tenure, so and we're building a training ground as well. So everything's going really well at the moment, and long may that continue. And as you say, it would need to be something good for me to go.
Yeah, but it would need to be something stable as well, Ruffy. But everything looks so good in the Partick Thistle camp. The structure seems to be right.
Yeah, I think the big thing obviously is the new training ground, the complex that any manager or player would want to be part of. When you're at a football club, it is a big thing nowadays, because players don't want to be driving all over the place. Where are we training here? Where are we going? You know exactly where you're reporting to in the morning, and that's where you go there. And it's amazing because sometimes a really good training complex can sway you towards where you're going to go. I mean, I suppose if you were going to Rangers or going to Celtic, and you were a foreign player and you're coming in, you don't know much about the place, and then you go to the training ground and your eyes get opened because it's nothing that you've experienced, and that could just be the thing that would get you better players in the door. So Alan's right, it would have to be a really good deal from somewhere else to leave that kind of thing when you know it's on the horizon.
Where did you train when you were at Thistle then?
Oh, we trained up in Ruckhill Park. It was just a nightmare. They used to put a couple of coats down for the goals, and it was amazing. And that's not just Partick Thistle. I'm talking about all clubs who didn't have complex. And even when I went to Hibs, we travelled all over Edinburgh, Cramond, up at Holyrood, down to Leith, everywhere. It was, and every football team was like that until they obviously got the complexes. So, full credit to the teams who have pushed ahead and identified that is the way ahead.
Yeah, of course, there's other interest around Partick Thistle. One of them, the centre half, Liam Lindsay, who was named in the PFA Scotland Team of the Season. This is what the Jags boss had to say about the interest around Liam Lindsay.
I think we've had a few inquiries. Obviously, we certainly had concrete in January, and since then it's been the same as well. And I think that will continue. Obviously, being the PFA Team of the Year has obviously helped Liam's position, and he's been a standout for us this year. And look, if he goes with our blessing if it's the right club for him. If not, he'll stay here and he'll progress and hopefully play another 30-40 games for us.
But there's been no offers in at the moment?
Well, with no concrete offers, I think we've had a few lines of inquiry, certainly.
So, good player, Gordon, and he's going to get even better
Absolutely. I mean, there's two sides to it for a team like Partick. A player like that, developing, is good for your team, but there's also the aspect of the transfer fee and the benefits that brings to bringing in money. And one of the things in the teams out with the major clubs in Scotland is, you're developing players in order to try at times and sell them on, and that's your market, to try and sell your players on to England. So I think he is a very good player, and I was very pleased for him he was actually chosen, because it was an Aberdeen Celtic select, the PFA team of the year, and yet he got in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, St Johnstone manager Tommy Wright has got a fair bit of praise for the performance of his team, but he reckons this game against Thistle is the most important of the season.
The results last week, mean that we're guaranteed 5th place, which is another great achievement this season, but ultimately our aim is to get enough points in the last 3 games to guarantee 4th and get the European spot. So it's a massive game for us, and with Hearts playing before us, we could go into it knowing exactly what we need. If they were to lose or draw, we know that a win then would guarantee 4th place. So for us, it's the biggest game of the season.
Do you see Hearts catching St Johnstone, Ruffy, realistically?
Not in this forum. Obviously today again they put in a spirited performance, but they're not winning games, and it's just dramatic where they've slipped to. And I don't think people realise the amount of money that you actually win in the top 6. Where you end up. It's a lot of money and a big bonus for the next season.
Okay, we're getting ever closer to kick-off. We'll be going back to New Douglas Park, where the tension among the supporters will be increasing. Who's going to come out on top in the battle of the Lanarkshire clubs, the derby? We'll get Kevin Harper's thoughts coming up next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. 6 days a week we will bring you the best of Scottish football, focusing on all 4 divisions as we have done over the course of the season, with managers and players coming on to the programme to talk about their team, to talk football. And last week, hopefully you enjoyed also the Scotland manager Gordon Strachan. You can see it once again on the STV iPlayer if you missed it, talking about his time as a player and manager. And of course talking about Scotland-England coming up, and that is a match you can see live on STV. Scotland against England on the 10th of June, not to be missed. So Alan Ruff and Gordon Smith are with me here, and also out there at our main game, Hamilton Accies against Motherwell, ready to give us the teams, Kevin Harper.
Peter, good atmosphere building here in Hamilton. The teams are in. Martin Cannon makes 3 changes from last week's 2-1 loss to Inverness. Out go McMahon, Donati and Bingham. In come Gillespie, Crawford and Redmond. The Hamilton team is Remy Matthews in goals, Ionis Castonis, Michael Devlin, Grant Gillespie, Dougie Emery, Greg Docherty, Alex DeCall, Danny Redmond, Ali Crawford, Darian McKinnon and Georgios Saris. Stephen Robson makes 1 change from last week's defeat to Ross County. Out goes Ainsworth and in comes Clay. Their team is Russell Griffiths in goal, Stephen Hamill, Ben Hennigan, Carol McHugh, Lewis Moult, Chris Cadden, Keith Lasley, Elliot Fear, Craig Clay, Alan Campbell and Scott McDonald.
Okay, that seems to be the teams, and Kevin looks as if he would be ready to get involved heavily in the music there, because it's pretty loud as ever. Ruffy, Kevin, I've got to ask you, who's going to win this one in your mind?
In my mind, I think Peter, as I said earlier in the commentary, I think Motherwell will win. They'll have too much up top. I think Lewis Moult and Scott McDonald have to start scoring, and today against your local rivals will be the perfect time. So for me, I think it's a Motherwell win.
Okay, Kevin's going for a Motherwell win. Ruffy, do you agree with him?
I think this will be a really, really tight game, and I've got a funny feeling that something controversial is going to happen during this game, and it will turn the game towards Motherwell, and I think Motherwell will win it.
Are you suggesting, Ruffy, that something controversial will be involving the referee?
A penalty, a sending off, something like that. You know, I think it's going to be so tight, it's going to be tense. Some players might not handle the situation, depending on which way the game's going, and I think that could be the turning point of the game.
Gordon Smith.
Yeah, I think that I see this at Hamilton. Have got a better defence than Motherwell, but Motherwell got a much better attack. So I think that in both those ways, I can see both teams capable of scoring in this game, but not a lot of goals. And I just think that because of Hamilton's record, I think they've had about 14 draws. I can see this being another draw.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
A draw in that match. I look at the points there. Both of them on 32 points. Not something that they really need, especially when we have to keep our eye on what Inverness are doing in their match at Kilmarnock. Ruffy, you think it's going to be a 2-0 win for Inverness?
Yeah, I do. I think they're a very, very strong side, and I think the confidence of winning last week might just take them into that game. I think Kilmarnock are a wee bit safe. They might just drop their guard a wee bit, and I think Inverness will win it.
I think so. I think Inverness will be up for it. I think Kilmarnock are reasonably safe. Not quite yet, but they've enough games. There's 3 games left to get the points they need. They only need about 2 or 3 points to be even out of the playoff scenario. I think Inverness will win 2-1.
Dundee Ross County, Ruffy, what's on your mind for that one?
Yeah, unfortunately. I hate sitting on the fence, but I'm going to sit on the fence in this one and go for 1 each.
I think Dundee will win 2-1.
Yep, okay. And the last one, St Johnstone against Partick Thistle. Ruffy, I mean, St Johnstone have been playing really well. They're 4th in the table. They're trying to hold off Hearts.
Yeah, but Partick Thistle have got a good. They've got a good. I think they 3 wins last year at St Johnstone. I think they won the last game of the season up there, 1-0. I'm going to get something. Take something out of the game. Sit on the fence again, 1 each.
Yeah. Did you say 1 each last night on the programme?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's a hard one to predict. You know why? Because it's a terrible word to use, but it's a meaningless game to a certain degree.
Yeah.
There's nothing at stake here, I don't think, because I think the way the league positions are just now, I think they're going to stay that way to the end. I think that we'll not see a change in it. So I think just depends who's up for it on the day. You never know if Alan Archibald can get his team going. Thistle have been in good form, sort of thing. And the thing about St Johnstone is one of the other aspects of them is they're actually better away from home than they are at home. So maybe I would say maybe that Thistle can get a win here today, maybe 1-0.
Yeah, okay. That really, I'm not too sure about the meaningless aspect of it. I think the money thing is a very good point, with regards to the league table. But what a feather in his cap if Alan Archibald suddenly has Thistle catching Hearts, Gordon.
Yeah, you'd love that, wouldn't he? I mean, it'd be a big factor for them. I mean, it would be two aspects. It would be Ian Cathro would feel the brunt of that too, because people would begin to say, you're maybe struggling to finish sixth in the league when you were second place when you got the job, and albeit Hearts were now going to maybe stay in the second place, but he's going to be tarnished by that. So I think Alan Archibald would love it if he could get Thistle out of that even sixth spot and got them into fifth.
Yep, it would be a big call. OK, we'll keep you up to date with what's going to happen in those matches. We'll also talk more about the games that have finished. If you have just joined us, Rangers defeated Hearts by 2-1 in that match at Ibrox earlier today. It wasn't quite the full house we expected for Rangers to win it. I think a lot of Rangers fans are at this moment waiting to see what's going to happen over the summer with the board backing the manager's plans.
I agree with you. I think that it might have been a few of them considering that today, maybe thinking, well, I'll watch it on TV rather than go and see the game, because there was a lot of spaces. I mean, beforehand it was announced, there was almost like saying a full house expected. It was nowhere near a full house. A lot of the fans are not happy with how the team have played. Certainly it was a poor performance against Partick, but they got the result. Which they've managed to do twice at Firhill this season, getting late goals. But today was slightly better, I have to say, beating a Hearts team who are not in great form and also were down to 10 men quite early in the match. So from that point of view, the Rangers fans might still feel there's a lot to be done, and they still need evidence yet of who's going to provide that change, whether it's going to be at boardroom level or it's going to be at management level. So players might need to come in, but they certainly need more from even the players who are there at the moment.
Yeah, OK, a big kick-off across the country here on STV2. We'll keep you right up to date with what's happening with the goals, hit the back of the net. If there are red cards, we'll also highlight that to you, as there was earlier on at Ibrox. Prince Bouabin was sent off for Hearts. They were reduced to 10 men. They got an equaliser through Goncalves, but it was Barry Mackay who was the hero for Rangers. Give us your thoughts on that match, on Rangers' situation, at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. I forgot to ask you two guys about the playoffs as well, because Alloa against Airdrie is just a slender advantage at the moment for Mark Wilson's team. Ruffy, are they going to hold on to that, or will Jim Goodwin's side fight back at home?
I think they will fight back at home, but I think again, I think Airdrie have done enough in the first game. I think they'll see out that one. I think it'll be a draw.
Gordon Smith.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, because Alloa were a good few points ahead of Airdrie in the league, but they also were on a bad run. They went on a great form run towards the end of the season. Airdrie were beginning to pick up results. So I'm like Ruffy. I think that Airdrie will do enough today to go through. Yeah,
Wraith Rovers against Brechin. Gordon, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I think John Hughes is just desperately hoping that down to the last few games they can somehow keep them in the division.
Well, that's right. They got the draw in the first game. I mean, after getting an amazing win against Ayr United with 10 men in that match, then they've got everything in their plate today, and I think that John Hughes will get them fired up, or the kit man, whoever's taking the team today, will get them fired up, and they'll get a result.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what John Hughes had to say about his players on the forum they need to show.
We play to the standards that I demand, and we'll be okay. We play to the standards that I demand. It's which I've seen this season, mostly at home, and we're capable of beating any team in the first division. So it's my job to keep the standards up, and when they fall below it, then, as I keep saying, I'm not going to blow smoke up their backside. I'm going to tell them. And if they can't handle it, then I don't think they should be playing football. It shouldn't be a football club. Go and play your football somewhere else. You might get away with no training properly, no living your life properly, no having your diet or your body weight in check. All the standards that I expect for them to be their best 90 minutes come Saturday, that is just so simplistic. It's unbelievable.
I don't think you or I will ever play for Yogi, Robbie.
No, I don't think so. No, he's got the best players. You know, they need to turn up. They need to handle the situation. You would think at home, you know, they would have that bit advantage, but. Yeah, I think Raith are going to win this.
Yeah, I'm a bit perplexed. Sometimes managers can say things that make you really want to get behind them, but he's slaughtered his team over the last couple of weeks. But we shall see in their performance whether they can bounce back and stay in the division. That's the Championship playoffs. What about the League One playoffs? Gordon, Forfar, Annan, who's going to come out on top in that one?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, this is the third time they've played each other in the last 10 days, isn't it, or something? Because, last week, isn't it? Because last week, I mean, Forfar had the chance to win the league last week. Obviously, Arbroath, they were waiting on that result coming through as well. They'd already beaten Annan 3 times in the league, and then they got a home game against them, and after about 25 minutes, they're down 3-0. So at the moment, as I say, a big match during the week there in Annan, and Annan were 2-0 up. Forfar came back with late goals, got themselves a 2-each draw, so they'll obviously need to perform better than they've been doing against Annan in the last couple of games, because they found themselves 3-0 down and got beaten 4-2, then 2-0 down, so they're going to have to get sharp. But so far, 5 minutes gone, they haven't lost a goal yet, so you've got to say Forfar in a good position, and they should be capable of beating Annan.
Do you agree with them, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think they'll still be hurting for not winning the league, you know, and it'll be up to the players, you know, to sort of again respond. But I would worry for them if Annan were to score first, because obviously in the light of what's happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks, that all the pressure would then be thrown onto them. But I think they'll score and they'll win. Yeah,
what about Peterhead against Montrose? It's still 0-0 at the moment, Ruffy, but that one again nicely poised.
Yeah, I know Peterhead have had a horrendous season, but I think they're just they are a league above, and I think the big players will come up, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing. Rory McAllister would be the guy. He hasn't scored as many goals as what he scored every other season, but I think this could be the day that he could be the one that come up with the goals.
Yeah, it should be. As I say, they've also been a team who have been very inconsistent, haven't they? Ross County have scored at Dundee as well, so Ross County are 1-0 up at Dundee, so that's an early goal, 4 minutes gone, so that's a good start for Ross County. But I'm saying that Peterhead, very inconsistent, not winning enough games, and not winning games at times you expect them to win, so you would think that they should be through. They got a good result, they went to Montrose, got the draw, and now they've got the home game in order to turn it around, and Jim McInally will want to see his players lift themselves for this game, because it's a crucial one.
Yeah, it is indeed, and Rory McAllister is indeed in the starting 11 and playing from the start, Ruffy, if that sways your thoughts on this one. As far as that game between Dundee and Ross County, Liam Boyce with his 21st goal of the season. He has been invaluable to Jim McIntyre, and I think a number of scouts will be in the stand today at Dens Park watching him, and that's a great start.
Yeah, it certainly is, you know, and it's just typical. You know, every time we sit here on a Saturday and it's whatever team scores, you could guarantee who it's going to be. You get that first goal, and he's done it again. Yeah, you're right. You know, I don't know what kind of contract he's on. I don't know. You know, if Ross County really need to sell, we've already talked about the owner. You know, he's got bags of money. He could maybe do something to keep him there, but it certainly depends who comes calling. You know, and how, what kind of ambition Liam Boyce has. I'm sure he'd want to play at a bigger club, and it will just remain to be seen what clubs come in for him.
He's just turned 26, but he's got a great scoring record. I mean, he really has been consistent wherever he's been. He's put the ball in the net. And I think that from the point of view, he's done a great job for Ross County. They wouldn't want to lose, because his goals have been crucial for them in the last 2 or 3 seasons, haven't they? I mean, without his goals, I'd be interested to know if Ross County would even still be in the Premier Division.
Yep, absolutely. There's a playoff at the bottom of League 2, Ruffy, that I think is going to be interesting, because interesting for the future of Cowdenbeath. If they don't stay in the professional football league here, they're taking on East Kilbride today. East Kilbride's rise through the leagues has been unbelievable. A fair bit of money, a good structure, a stadium built for them, and they have real ambitions to be playing in League 2, League 1, Championship, and eventually the Premiership in Scotland. I speak to their backroom, their board on a regular basis. Some of the guys who play for them, they want to be in the top flight.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for Cowdenbeath. They've been a team that's been dwindling down through the years. You know, that obviously they've had the stadium there that's never been really refurbish and everything that goes on behind there. But you're right, if you start talking about what teams bring to the table, I would say at this moment in time East Kilbride would bring more to the table than Cowdenbeath. I think the community involvement in East Kilbride would get behind the team. I think they would get more supporters than Cowdenbeath. And the big problem now is where do Cowdenbeath go if they don't win this, and they drop down, because they're struggling enough as it is just now, and you would wonder if they would survive going down into the Lowland League.
Is it East of Scotland they would go into the Cowdenbeath if they went down? I think it would be, Peter, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. There's no doubt East Kilbride have got the potential to become a bigger club than Cowdenbeath currently are. So, they might do exactly what Edinburgh, we've seen from Edinburgh, did in going into the league. Didn't start too well, but then all of a sudden they started to put results together. So I think that it's going to be a tough one. I think East Kilbride could win over the two legs.
Okay, in the Premier League in England, Sunderland 0, Swansea 1. Llorente has scored again his 14th goal of the season. We talk about goal scorers, he's been invaluable. It's one of those classics. He can score because he's such a formidable hitman. He's someone that you can launch that ball up to, and when he gets the ball in the box, he's very hard to try and out-jump Ruffy.
Yeah, and he's the kind of striker that scores against the teams at the bottom of the league. He struggles a wee bit when he gets up against the top six, but when he's playing middle of the table to teams underneath that, he has the ability to get away from defenders and score the odd good goal.
He's a good player. It's a big game today for Swansea. Sunderland have all of a sudden put together some better results since they got relegated, but Swansea, they've got to wait. Hull play tomorrow. Hull have got Crystal Palace away from home. Swansea been away today. If they could get a result today, though, they've put themselves in that position. Then, like four points ahead of Hull. At the moment, they're 1 point ahead. So this would be a crucial win for them. They need to win this, and then hopefully, from their point of view, they'll be looking to see what Hull do tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the amazing Sam Allardyce looks as if he's managed to steer Crystal Palace away from the choppy waters at the relegation. Sunderland, Middlesbrough gone. It's between Hull, Swansea, and I think Crystal Palace might be just safe and no more. So I don't see them taking their foot off the gas tomorrow, although Hull's manager Marco Silva could be on his way to Southampton if reports are to be believed, Ruffy.
Yeah, again, that he's got to put everything into this season before he decides what he's going to be doing. But certainly when they identify somebody who is going to take them to another level, they sometimes make their decisions very quickly down there, and if that is the case, then again he'll still be under pressure, because the expectations at that club are big.
But the thing about it is, Peter, Palace, they were getting out of it, but they've lost their last 3 games in the league. And if, say, for example, Swansea were to win today and then the Palace were to lose at home, you'd have only 1 point in it between, they'd be level in points with Swansea, Palace, and they'd only be 1 point ahead of Hull. So in that circumstance, then I think they'd be still a bit nervous if Swansea win and they lose tomorrow, Palace.
Yeah, do you see them doing that?
It's hard to say. The funny thing is they've actually been better against the bigger teams. When they're playing Arsenal and Chelsea, Man City, and all that, Palace, he's been getting good results. But the last 3 games, 3 defeats, has brought them right down to that relegation zone, and as I say, I think he needs a result tomorrow.
Okay, it's a slow start as far as the goals going in. That Liam Boyce strike is the main one we've been talking about from the Premiership here in Scotland. His 21st goal of the season has given them a 1-goal lead against Dundee at Dens Park. Will the fight back beyond from Neil McCann's side? We'll keep you up to date with that. We'll also discuss over the course of the afternoon some of the other clubs in the news emerging. Roughly 6 players now leaving Hibernian. They've been told by Neil Lennon he wants to try and get his own players in. Effie Ambrose, Anthony Stokes, possibly Chris Commons could be in the mix as well. Sean Maloney as well.
Forfar have scored against Annan, a home goal. So it was just Ruffy was saying about the worry for them would be losing the first goal as they've done in the last 2 games, but Forfar 1-0 up. Yeah, on you go. Sorry, Ruffy, on you go.
On you go. Can you
answer that?
Can you remember the point?
Yeah, no.
Gordon's giving you the all clear. That's okay.
Answer that question.
I haven't got it. Not finished yet.
Yeah, I did. I said to you 6 players gone. I mean, he's told Holt, he's told Harris, Humphrey, Gallagher, McLean and Insall.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest one of the lot is Holt. you know, because
do you think so?
Well, when you see him after the cup game there, you know, he was the one player that was talking up. He was the one saying that had the experience to bring on and turn the game, and I thought to keep him in the sidelines, you know, would have been. You know, but I think it was a player that made the decision. I think it was a player who was travelling back and forward, and he said, well, I'm not really happy with this, you know, I'm going to go back down south and I'm sure he'll get a club down there. So I don't think it's that big a deal, but I would have thought he'd have tried and kept him. But I think now you're looking at, you've obviously mentioned Stokes there, maybe Neil Lennon sees that there are other better players out there, and that's what he's going to go
I think that's the main point about it. I think even Holt would probably be a discussion with Neil Lennon and saying, I might get a chance of playing next year, and the chances of him playing would be very small if it's actually strikers he's going to be bringing in, and I don't think there's any doubt that he will. He's got Cummins there anyway, who plays regularly. I know Keatings is already going, he's already said that, so Neil Lennon will be out bringing a couple of strikers in. Could be Stokes, could be somebody else.
Well, let's be honest about it. I mean, apart from Grant Holt being a good servant to him in the Championship, Neil Lennon, whether Grant Holt made that decision or not, will be looking for players that he knows have to be of a certain standard, Ruffy, to cope with the top 6 ambitions that he has. Neil Lennon won't be thinking, let's hope Hibs can survive in the Premiership. He wants players of a certain standing.
Yeah, and again, Hibs are no any different from any other club. Everybody's going to be waiting to see what their spending power is. You know, what have they got that they can go out and buy? What kind of player can they go out and buy? Will he go down to England and try and identify some of the players in the Championship? He was down there for the season, and he might have noticed somebody down there. And then we've already talked about people like Boyce. Have they got 700,000 in the bank that they would spend on one particular player with the worth that Boyce has got? I mean, if he thought he could get Boyce into a Hibs jersey and score 20 odd goals a season, that is a top 6 statement. But again, you don't know if they're going to splash that kind of money.
I'll tell you, the one player that I think they're going to battle it out with Aberdeen for is Sean Maloney.
That's right, I was talking about that. That would be a factor, a financial factor too, though, Peters, because let's be honest, the money he'll be on will be good money. He wants to come back maybe and play in Scotland, but it's going to be down to the kind of deal they can give him. But as I say, he'll also be, he'll know Neil Lennon well, sort of thing, and that could be a big factor, maybe whether he wants to maybe move to the Edinburgh side, the south side of Scotland, or wants to be up in Aberdeen. It's a hard one to say, but he's a name that's been put forward, so I think that there definitely will be interesting.
And I think the thing that makes it a lot easier for Hibs is, obviously you're saying Sean Maloney's coming is a different wage bracket, and these kind of people. When you're getting 16,000 a home gate, that income makes it a lot easier to attract these kind of players. So he'll have a bigger budget to work with, because he will get bigger crowds in the top league.
Okay, still waiting. Gavin Swankie, incidentally, scored that goal for Forfar in the playoffs, and that's really when you get to what I think is the entertaining part of the season, because for many, the season would just have dwindled out under the old setup, but the playoffs have, I think, just ignited the excitement towards the end of the season.
Absolutely, Peter. It was crucial. It was a big factor, because we need to look at the scenario there. The Premier League was already having a split. Now, if you had a split and then you'd a team isolated at the bottom of the league as well, you lost a lot of the excitement from it. But what's been great, even in the highest level, and I mean, it's right through the leagues, obviously, it's in different levels for all the different divisions. Even the situation we've got now, where obviously the system, where a team can come in from non-league, can come in at East Kilbride playing Cowdenbeath today. So you've got a pyramid system right through, which is enhancing the game. But at the top level, it was crucial, and I think it's been great, because then you have a fight on in order to teams trying to get out of the bottom 6 for the split, and Partick Thistle had a big celebration for doing that. But you look at the scenario there, how close it was this season between all the other teams, and the fact is, what I like about it, Peter, is the fact they all play each other in the final 5 games. So you've got the matches are against your crucial opponents, and that's what we've got today. We've got Hamilton against Motherwell today, and Kilmarnock Inverness, and Kilmarnock have gone 1-0 up as well, just as I'm speaking.
Yeah, see, there you are. And again, it's all about knowledge, it's all about insight, and when you actually, last night on the show, I mean, I actually moved quickly because I couldn't believe what Ruffy was saying when he suggested Inverness would win by 2-0. Ruffy, I think your treble could be gone by half time.
Well, I said
2 of them are down.
I said 2-1, so we're still winning a chance.
Yeah, well.
2 of them are down at the moment.
2 of them are down, so we're just looking for.
Who chose Dundee? Was it yourself, Peter?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. It's you and me.
It's early. It's early bells.
Listen, absolutely, it is. It's early days, but of course, once you get a half-time team talk, I always feel that's when a manager earns his corn.
Yeah.
Of course, you can give us your thoughts on Aberdeen Celtic last night. It was a whirlwind start for Celtic in that match, and I tell you, the header from Boyata, not really good marking, and then over and above that, it was Stuart Armstrong who scored the goal for Celtic before Lee Griffiths hit an unbelievable shot. Looked as if the goalkeeper should have saved it, Joe Lewis. I certainly thought so. Ruffy, who's part of the goalkeepers union, which means even if the goalkeeper should have saved it, Ruffy comes up with a reasoning behind why it was maybe a bit too harsh on the goalie. And then the goal of the game, I mean, if you thought Griffiths was a good goal, I thought Johnny Hayes' strike was out of the top drawer. Give us your thoughts on that. Will it have any bearing whatsoever in the Scottish Cup final? Can Celtic go through the entire season as the Invincibles? It'll be some feat. I mean, we're going back to the 19th century, the last time it was achieved, Gordon Smith, but they're getting ever closer. And the way they're playing, he's not actually, apart from putting in a couple of youngsters last week, this team is almost at full strength all the time.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think it's going to be tough. I mean, you're only now 3 games away from this happening, and I think that it's been a fantastic season. You look at even the element of it, the 100 points in the league is sensational for a start too. So that's going to be bettered with Celtic in the next 2 games. But the other aspect too is, I think it's something like the goal difference. I might be wrong. Is it about 74 or 75 the goal difference? Positive goal difference. I mean, how often do you ever see that? It's incredible. I think an amazing season from Celtic's point of view. Even last night, when Aberdeen did come on to it for a little spell and played well and gave Celtic some problems, they're still looking a very good side all round. And you know, they have missed by striker, what do you call him? Just Dembele.
Yeah.
I was nearly saying Boyata there, but I think Boyata has become a real threat to other teams, isn't he? From set pieces. I mean, he could have had a couple of goals last night as well.
Yeah.
Got one, but I think he's playing well. So I think that Celtic, all in all, are strong, really strong.
I'm going to be honest with you, Gordon. The jury's still out for me, Ruffy, I have to say, because he's building a side for the Champions League. And I'm looking and I'm wondering to myself, apart from the people who might actually be sold, he's adamant that, you know, nobody's going to be leaving Celtic. I think there'll be a few fringe players who might want to go and play regular football. I still think he needs to strengthen the centre of defence. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it depends what the targets are for me with Celtic. Is Brendan Rodgers thinking I need to build a team to get to the last 16? I don't think they're there yet. I think there still needs to be 2 or 3 additions, better quality coming in. One would be in defence. I think at home, when you're going to have most of the pressure, I think the team is nearly good enough for that. It's just away from home against better sides, better quality. I think the defence can still be got at.
I do agree with Peter, even though I said Boyata's a threat from getting goals. I do agree that is the weakest part of Celtic's team. If they're going to strengthen anywhere at all, it needs to be at the back. They also maybe need to look to see whether they get somebody else in. I know Beaton's there, but I felt they did actually miss Scott Brown to a degree in the game last night in terms of the influence he has at the moment and he's had this season. They weren't really controlling that midfield area as they do normally when he's playing there.
I get a feeling from Patrick Roberts whether he comes back on loan for another season is open to debate. If he doesn't, I think centre half, he's almost certainly looking for a number 10, and I think the number 10 in this side can easily play behind what he has as his lone striker, who's either a Dembele or a Griffiths. And I still think he would be looking for another striker, because you need to have 3, 4. When you look at Martin O'Neill's side, you know, he had options. He had Larson, he had Sutton, he had John Hartson, and then there was always one other on the periphery who was you know, supporting, if you go back down through the years, who thought they could force their way into the team.
You do need that. You need the competition, definitely, and the players at that level, because what you find with strikers to a degree is the fact that a lot of it's form, And if somebody suddenly goes off form and they're not putting the ball in the net, you've got to find somebody else that can come and challenge for the position. So I agree with you. They've tried in recent years to do it at Celtic and it hasn't quite worked out. Some of the players are brought in in the striking position didn't quite make it. Griffiths and Dembele have obviously been two examples who have done really well. Stokes did pretty well for a time too. So they're looking for players, but there's been a goal as well at Alloa. Alloa are now down 1-0 to Airdrie. We did fancy that Airdrie could get through in this tie, and they're 1-0 up at Alloa.
Yep, 1-0 up. Incidentally, Sean Longstaff scored that goal for Kilmarnock in their match, leading Inverness by 1-0. I mean, this could be the day when I think there's an air of resignation about Inverness if they don't get something from this game, Ruffy.
No, I think if they were to lose this one, that it'd be too high a mountain to climb. And again, they'll have to rebuild. They'll obviously have to get themselves together, because if I've been in the big league for so long, and obviously having reasonable cup runs from year to year, you worry about teams like Inverness dropping down a division. I wouldn't particularly worry about Hamilton going down a division, because they're just geared, to do what they do, bring on young players, sell them on. Obviously the finances will be different there, but I think their philosophy is it doesn't matter what league we're in, this is the way we run the club.
Yeah, Rory McAllister is just at this moment given him, the ref has given him a yellow card for diving. I think he was just down in the box there. The Montrose players, the manager, raging. McAllister stands up, gets a yellow card for diving. You can sense at that point they're desperately trying to get themselves in front in that game at home, and when you've got the home crowd there all shouting for the penalty, sometimes it can sway the ref, but not in this time.
Absolutely. Well, the thing about it is I didn't really think he was that type of player, but at the end of the day maybe he just felt he was getting it. But that's good. I like to hear referees giving yellow cards out for people who are simulating and trying to get a goal the player setting off.
I have to say, I think Andy Ryan's goal has been just ruled offside by the referee. Again, look at Ruffy's face on this. This is what happens on a Saturday. Quickly, what happens is the old journalists quickly type it through, and on our teleprinter and our machine here we get the information. But Andy Ryan's effort has been ruled offside. I think that'll be corrected very shortly. So that'll be a blow for Airdrie. Bournemouth 1, Burnley 0 in the Stanislas has scored the goal there in the Premier League. So you're getting the goals coming in from the English Premier League, where Manchester City defeated Leicester by 2-1 today, and I think they're almost certainly going to be top four, one of the top four sides. Chelsea confirmed as the champions in the Premier League after a 1-0 win last night. Batshuayi scoring the goal for Chelsea to secure the title. The fairy tale of last year is now just a distant memory with Leicester City, although I think staying in the division was key for the Foxes. But Chelsea are now the Premier League champions. It seems like only yesterday, Ruffy, we were talking about the unbelievable dream of Leicester. Now we have new champions already. The year has flown in.
Yes, it's remarkable, for him to come in. I was looking at a programme the other night of his career, and it's absolutely fascinating from where he was as a player, and get into management at the lower divisions and just working his way up to where he is just now. But again, it is, we all thought last year that Chelsea had just down tools. The big players had just said, right, that's it, we're not fancying what's happening here. And he's come in with nearly enough the same players. Near enough, that.
N'Golo Kante is, I think, the main side.
Yeah, and he's turned it around. I think the first decision he made was playing three at the back, which is always a brave decision when you get that kind of calibre up against that calibre of striker.
Yeah.
But he's stuck with it. He's got the players buying into the way he thinks the game should be played, and they certainly have quality strikers, and they've had a tremendous season. I mean, they didn't have too good a start. Everybody was thinking that, all right, it's going to be the same as last year, but it wasn't. Once he got his act together and got them playing the way that he wanted, then they've just steamrolled everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I think he deserves a lot of credit, because I say it's a tough shift. I know that last year Ranieri did brilliant to get Leicester to win the league. No one foresaw that. But you have got teams up there with major money. You look who's below Chelsea. You've got Spurs, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Manchester United, Everton. They're all major clubs and major money. So as I say, it's not an easy one to think, well, you know, we should be winning it because we've got more money and better resources than anybody else. It's down to the manager, the teams he picks, getting the best out of players. And he said, like, people at Hazard have been absolutely outstanding this season. As you say, the system he's played is different. He had to get the players, had to buy into that, but he's got it done, and he's won the league. And there's a lot of talk about him getting, I think it's Inter Milan that's talking about wanting to, but he's saying he'll stay with Chelsea provided they give him more money.
Yeah, absolutely, as you would do. I mean, Ruffy would stay with Chelsea if they gave him more money in a heartbeat. I can tell you, in the Lanarkshire derby, Ali Crawford's had a couple of chances squandered, hasn't managed to find the net, still waiting on the first real opportunity for Motherwell. And this derby, they're trying to avoid being in that playoff place. It's tense, it's nervy, it needs a calm head, but we still have no goals at New Douglas Park. Hamilton 0, Motherwell 0 in that match. Nervy also for Dundee. They're not out of it yet. They're a goal behind to Liam Boyce in the Premiership. And I can tell you the other man, Sean Longstaff, is the other goal scorer in the game at Killy. Killy 1, Inverness Cally Thistle 0. And still waiting for a goal from St Johnstone against Partick Thistle as well. There were goals today at Ibrox. 2-1 in favour of Rangers. It was tense as Rangers had taken the lead in the match, only to be pegged back by Hearts, but it was Barry Mackay who stepped up with the all-important goal. Joey Garner scored a wonderful goal for Rangers after 7 minutes. Kenny Miller going down the right, and just a fantastic cross for Garner to head the ball back across the face of the goalkeeper into the bottom corner. But then Goncalves equalised. Hearts were down to 10 men, and on the counter-attack, lovely pass from Johnson, and Goncalves picked his spot. And that was before, inexplicably, I just cannot understand what the Hearts goalkeeper was thinking on this occasion. But the ball up into the air, and he punched it clear, only to Barry Mackay, who put it in the back of the net. I mean, he's been brought in there to replace Jack Hamilton, Ruffy, and I don't think he's done his chances of getting selected next week any good.
No, I think the initial punch was the wrong decision, but when it came back in again, I think he was a wee bit unfortunate not to get a foul on him, because
he was trying to catch it, wasn't he?
He was trying to catch it, and two Rangers players went up with him. One of them didn't challenge him at all, but the other one, I can't remember who it was, did actually have contact on him to obviously put him off. Young, inexperienced keeper. And he was unfortunate. Some referees might have gave a foul against that, but you can't take anything away from Barry Mackay's finish. It was a quality finish.
Yeah, with all due respect,
he's 26.
He's 26. I mean, he's not young and experienced.
Yeah, but he's not that many
listen,
games.
See the cross in, Ruffy. All he had to do was that.
Well, I tell you what, I think about, look at the Aberdeen game last night when Craig Gordon punched a shot. Remember? He came in and he punched. There was no reason for him to punch that, but he got away with it.
I don't understand why they do it, but see what you were saying about what the goalkeeper Norring did today. He actually got it wrong twice, because see, the first one that came in, as Peter said, the first one was a catchable one.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
see when he didn't, when the ball was up in the air, he then should have punched the second one, and he tried to catch it, and that's what caused the goal. So he blew it. I mean, they only just got back in the game as well, and doing quite well. Can you imagine the downside of that? You must be in an absolute low when you've just got back in the game with 10 men. You're thinking, we're playing well, we've got back, and you lose a goal. As you say, it wasn't as if it was an easy chance, because Barry Mackay did very well. He stuck it away really well. We don't know whether this will be changed or not, but Forfar have gone 2-0 up. Maybe too early to announce it, but Forfar are winning 2-0.
Yeah, well, sometimes, just to explain to you, sometimes the ball hits the back of the net, and your reporter just quickly, because it's so instantaneous these days, it's not quite simply you have to ring up on the phone, Ruffy. Because it's so instantaneous, you think Andy Ryan scored for Airdrie, but unfortunately it was ruled offside, so they got the goal disallowed. So it's still 0-0 in that one. But Forfar looking good in their match, 2-0 up. And you can give us your thoughts on last night. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 3. Will it have any bearing on the Scottish Cup final? Do you think Celtic just look unbeatable this season at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. It looks as if there's a penalty to St Johnstone at the moment, and I think Danny Swanson was tripped. And just mentioning Danny Swanson, of course, he's signed a pre-contract, Ruffy. He'll be going to Hibs.
Yeah, and that's the kind of quality that I think Neil Lennon's trying to bring in. You know, people with SPFL experience, and he certainly has got a lot of experience. And if that's the kind of player that he's trying to bring in, I think there are good times ahead. But that was a stonewall dive, and it was never in the box.
It's been given. They've scored the penalty.
Yep. Shocking.
So they got it. But
you're not happy with that, Ruffy? No.
Never a penalty, no.
Have we blown it completely on our treble, by the way? I mean, we've just... honestly, what about the punter last week? He picked 6 teams to win their respective divisions, and he scooped £60,000 on a £10 bet. And of course, I can tell he's just a punter, not a professional footballer. Of course. I have to tell you, Danny Swanson has scored that all-important goal for St Johnstone against Partick Thistle, and I can tell you Danny Denham scored Forfar's second goal. So the goals starting to come in now, and they all have a significant impact, because placings in the table in the Premiership are up for grabs here, and over and above that in the playoffs. It's in some cases not only survival but a change to your budget dramatically if you drop down a division, Gordon.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it makes a big factor. Even at some levels, they might even need to consider going part-time if you drop out the Premier League. But I see Peterhead, I've got 1-0 in front as well. A big factor there, getting a goal in that game, because as I say, we they did well in the first leg, obviously, getting the draw, but that's a good goal today for them.
Okay, keeping you right up to date. I've got to get your thoughts, lads, on a couple of stories that emerged this morning that I thought were quite interesting. This is all about player recruitment. One of them is a sad situation. Ryan Gauld looks as if he's going to be released, or not released, but sold by Sporting Lisbon. Didn't make the impact that they had hoped. He was, I think, loaned out to Vitória Setúbal, and they wanted him for the remainder of the loan. They wanted him for the second half of the season, but I think Sporting Lisbon are now looking and saying, well, we paid $3 million, we want to try and get some of that back. Somebody's going to have to go and buy him. Yeah,
it's one of these ones. I mean, it happens now and again, Peter. You see a young player and you think he's going to develop in the right way and he's worth a lot of money. We don't know the circumstance of the young player. It must have been quite tough for him to have to go and live abroad as well and be in Portugal rather than making it here. Dundee United saw a good advantage getting that money in. The lad obviously maybe felt it was a great move, because a lot of players from Sporting Lisbon have actually gone on to greater things. You know what I mean? And Cristiano Ronaldo is a good example that you go there first, and then they're quite keen to sell players on in order to make money. That they do a lot of development. Sporting Lisbon, so it's a shame it's just not worked out for him. But if they're looking for some money for him, then it might make it difficult even for him to come back to this country. Yep, Jim Lister scored for Forfar to make it 2-0 against Annan, and Rory McAllister has got Peterhead's goal in that match against Montrose. Well, he was booked for trying to earn a penalty for Peterhead, Jim McAnally's side, but he's popped up and got an all-important goal as well. We've got some significant games going on in the playoffs as well, which we'll keep you up to date with. The interesting one from last night was the 3-0 for Dundee United against Morton. I don't think Morton can go out with any real, they'll be disappointed to lose over the 2 legs, Ruffy, but no shame for what Jim Duffy's side have achieved this season, and rightly so. He was involved in the nominees for the PFA Scotland Manager of the Year.
Yeah, I'm sure Jim Duffy went into a meeting with the owners of the club at the beginning of the season, and they would have targets, ambitions of where they'd want to be, and I think Jim Duffy's ticked all the boxes. I think he's taken Morton to the playoffs. Obviously, I don't think anybody would have expected that to happen, but the quality of the football that they've played has been excellent. When they've come up against bigger sides, they've held their own, and I'm sure the owners will be more than happy with what Jim's done. I think the difficulty would be if a reasonable bigger job came up, then Jim would be identified for that. So I think Morton would have maybe a wee struggle to hold on to him.
Yeah. What do you make, Gordon, of the story this morning? It looks as if Stevie Mallon could be on his way from St Mirren. No surprise there. Barnsley, the team he's being linked with. I think there are a number of clubs down south in the lower echelons of the game maybe looking at him and thinking he could do a job for us.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, we know for a fact that people were looking at the kid, and he's a good player. It'll be a shame for St Mirren, because obviously they were looking to see next season as a way ahead to go from being a relegation battling team to being a promotion battling team, and they'll expect to be up there and do basically what Morton have done this season and get themselves right in the playoff zone. So I think it's a shame, but it's part of the game, as I said, Peter. Barnsley, clubs in England have got more money. They can find money to buy players, and they can give them bigger wages and all that sort of thing. Yeah. The kid might see it as a stepping stone to go down there and then move on again and get to a higher level. So I think that if the money's right, you look at St Mirren, even at the time when they were struggling, they sold McLean to Aberdeen at the time of the season when the fans were not happy about that. But that's what they need. They need to get money in order to fund the club. They're a fan-owned club now, but they don't have massive amount of money, and maybe even for them to recruit themselves, if they got some money in from Mallon, it might allow them to buy 2 or 3 players.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, because Jack Ross will have a list of players that he wants. He mentioned that if they could keep the squad together, they should be pushing for the Championship title next season. Rafi, I thought that was brave on Jack Ross's part to actually make a statement like that. It puts the pressure on you, but I think there are a number of players, Lewis Morgan as well, who might actually be a target for other clubs. So you'll want to try and again make good choices, good recruitment, and he did that in the January transfer window.
Yeah, saying you're going to win the league next year is what the fans want to hear. That's what they'll have obviously been through the season that they've been through. They won't want to get through that again. But when your manager comes out and gives you the finish to the season that they had, and then he comes out with saying, "Oh, we're going to step up a gear and we're going to win the league." The fans are going, "Oh, fantastic! This is great. I want to be part of this. It's brilliant." But he'll need better players to do that. And you're right. When you're at a team like St Mirren, every year you need to sell somebody to keep everybody else happy.
Yeah.
And we've already seen what the prizes are down in England, and it's tempting. I think it was interesting, Jackie McNamara this morning saying that there's players down in their lower division are on more money than the SPFL. So it just shows you what the attraction is when another club comes hunting you.
Well, I know for a fact there's players earning more money in League 2 in England, which is the bottom league, and sometimes I've even heard of it, players in the Conference League earning more than Premier League players are getting. The money's just a different world down there. But as I say, it's just the way that the game is, and you've got to take that into account. And what Jack Ross will need to think about as well is that we don't really know what the competition's going to be like for next season in terms of who's coming down beside him. I mean, it could be Inverness, obviously, who are looking like being relegated, but you could have, depending how the playoffs go, like Motherwell or Hamilton or something like that as well, being a team in the Championship, and that would make it even tougher for St Mirren, with teams like that coming down.
Yeah, and it's going to be tougher, but the other thing with Hibs coming out in that division and maybe Dundee United, financially they're not going to be as rich next year as obviously if it was Hamilton and Inverness. They're not two teams that are going to, like Hibs, they're not two teams that are going to get down a division and end up at the top of the league next, all of a sudden have 12,000 fans going to support them, so that you would think that even though Hamilton and Inverness did go, their fan base would still be 3,000.
Yeah.
Which will be.
Would they possibly be the two of the teams with the lowest fan base? I mean, some people in the SPL might look at it and think, well, if Hamilton and Inverness were the two teams to go down, and say you had Hibs or obviously up and Dundee United as well, that could turn around the finances of the Premier League, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, because you'd have again an ability to reveal, increased attendances. It's a great way to actually play out that football is working. It's on the upturn in this country, and it's by bigger attendances at the games. Middlesbrough 0, Southampton 1. Rodriguez has scored the goal. Liam Boyce's 22nd goal of the season is the difference between the two teams in the Premiership. He scored up at Dens Park. Dundee 0, Ross County 1. 22 goals for the season for him. Elsewhere, 8 goals now for the season for Gavin Swankie. Forfar 3-0 up in their match against Annan. 5-2 in aggregate. I think Jim Chapman's side will realise that the game's up for them in that battle. They'll not be going into the final. And elsewhere, still waiting to see if there's a goal from Wraith Brecon and Alloa against Airdrieonians 2. But in the Premiership, Rangers defeated Hearts by 2-1 today. Give us your thoughts on the performance of Pedro Caixinha's side. Are you starting to see little glimpses of something taking shape there, or are you unhappy about the overall play over the 90 minutes? A fair few empty seats at Ibrox watching that game, a game that you would consider a Category A game, but I think a number of Rangers fans will be waiting to see what's going to happen in the summer and how much money is going to be put up for Pedro Caixinha to change his side around. And will the likes of Nico Cranshaw have an opportunity to play in that side? He's back fit, but hoping to make an impact next season. We shall find out. As far as today is concerned, Hamilton against Motherwell, still no way through. Scott McDonald's been trying to win a free kick on the edge of the box. Referees waved it away. Still 0-0 there. Kilmarnock are leading Inverness by 1-0. Sean Langstaff scoring the goal there. So there's only 2 goals in the top half of the Premier League. In the bottom half, I beg your pardon, only 1 goal in the top half, and it's Danny Swanson who scored from the penalty spot. St Johnstone leading Partick Thistle by 1-0. That's how it looks in the top flight, and we'll keep you up to date with the playoffs as well. Ruffy, what do you make of the Champions League and Europa League finals? We've eventually found out who was going to take their place in the finals. Juventus, Real Madrid, and it's now Ajax against Man United.
Yep. I would say if it's Real Madrid, we'll be looking at Juve and realise there's not going to be a free-flowing game here. I think Juve have got quality in their side. If they were to get a first goal, would be able to have the ability and the experience to sit in and see that one out. But obviously Real Madrid have got Ronaldo on the side, and they do score goals. So I think it's going to be a really exciting game. Although I'm saying Juve are very good defensively, they are good going forward as well. They've certainly got players of attacking ability and excite you. So I think we're in for a right good game there. And obviously the Europa Cup, the manager seems to think that is the avenue into the Champions League for next year. So he's really put everything into all his eggs in the one basket here, because I still think they're good enough to get in the top 4. But he's made this decision, obviously, with the injuries that he's got, that that's where they're going to be.
Well, I didn't quite agree with his statement on Thursday morning when he said this is the biggest game in the club's history.
Yeah.
I didn't quite agree with that, I thought...
Again, managers painting pictures, Gordon.
Exactly. I think, does he realise what club he's at here? But I think, to be honest, it was quite funny that both the Champions League and the Europa League semi-finals were over in the first leg, weren't they? In both cases, you were almost like saying Manchester United and Ajax are through, and then the same in the Champions League. Real Madrid, Juventus, you couldn't see any way that they weren't going to be there either. So I think in that respect, you've got the best final you could have had from the 4 teams that were in each competition.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Ruffy, with regards to the Juventus ability to defend in great numbers. But I do think they are good going forward. I mean, I do think that I think it might be an open game. I mean, as you say, sometimes when the Italian teams score, they shut up shop, but this Juventus side, I mean, Alves, an attacking player, they've got Mandzukic, they've got Dybala, they've also got Higuain, I mean, they really are a good side to watch. I actually think they might win it, Gordon. I've been swayed by their performances.
I agree. I think they could win it. I don't think there's any doubt that, in Buffon, fun enough, it's the one trophy he's never won as well. Buffon, he's never won a Champions League. And so you think that that would be a marvellous part of his career, the end of his career. But I agree. I think that that there's nothing in it at all, because as Ruffy says, one thing about they're a good attacking side, Juventus, but the one thing they do have, and I've seen it at Champions League level this year, most of the time defences can't cope with the super strikers there are at the highest level. They are maybe the one team, Peter, that can cope with Real Madrid, just because of how they set up defensively. They're very strong at the back, and then they hit in the counter and all that. So I think that if of all the opponents that Real could have had in the final, I think this is their most difficult.
I would say that of all the teams, this is the team who have got players that could stop Ronaldo. If somebody's identified to say, right, this is your specific job for tonight.
Yes.
They've got the defensive players who could do it.
And they're trying to get Bale back, aren't they? Real, they're hoping he's going to be fit for the game. So, because it's in Cardiff, that's maybe why.
No, absolutely, it's a perfect place to win a Champions League medal again. And who would bet against him scoring in that stadium too? Kyle Naughton scored for Swansea. Talking of Wales, he scored for Swansea at Sunderland Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Swansea 2. So Paul Clement looks as if he has steered them a little closer to safety. It's not quite done and dusted yet. Half time, St Johnstone 1, Partick Thistle 0. Danny Swanson scoring the goal there. And I can tell you it's half time at Hamilton against Motherwell. After this quick break, we'll be going to Kevin Harper. Kilmarnock lead Inverness by a goal to nil. It's half time there as well. So you're right up to date with all the games in the Premiership this afternoon. There was 2 games already completed. Rangers defeated Hearts by 2-1 earlier today at Ibrox. And Aberdeen 1, Celtic 3 was the emphatic scoreline from last night. Celtic now have 100 points at the top of the table, and the manager is demanding 100 goals, Ruffy.
Yeah, targets. I mean, when you've won one target, you look at another one, and that seems to be the next one, But I think the way things are going, the end of the season will all be about targets achieved and records broken. And
it's actually quite clever that though. See, and a lot of managers don't realise that, Peter. You keep setting targets, then your players have always got something to go for, because a lot of times when they achieve something, they just switch off. We've seen it so often. They just go, "Oh, that's us. We've achieved what we're meant to do. We've won the league." But he's keeping the targets going.
It's a great point. Look at Ruffy. He wins the League Cup in 1971. You think he's just going to win lots of medals.
That was it.
There wasn't enough targets for him to try and...
And you get one win, you go for another.
That's it.
Yeah.
Should.
Let's go for 2.
Absolutely.
Still waiting though.
I'm doing you a tremendous disservice, Ruffy. Of course, when you get to one World Cup, you think, well, let's go back for another one. And another one as well. Alan Ruff and Gordon Smith are with me here in the studio. Coming up after the break, we'll be going to New Douglas Park to get Kevin Harper's assessment of that Lanarkshire derby. It's a battle to avoid the playoff position. We'll also bring you all the half-time scores across the country, north and south of the border. Don't go away. You the half-time scores across the country. Just before we bring you that extensive news, let's go to New Douglas Park. It's half-time there in the Lanarkshire Derby. Hamilton against Motherwell. Kevin Harper.
Here in New Douglas Park, Peter, it's Hamilton 0, Motherwell 0, and the story of the game is the ball has went to hospital, Peter. It's black and blue, it's just been knocked forward and knocked forward. 6 bookings in the first half, 4 for Motherwell, 2 for Hamilton, but within that 45 minutes there has been a couple of good bits of play, especially between Redmond of Hamilton and Crawford. They got down the right hand side, Redmond cut it back for Crawford, who was about 14 yards out and skied it over the bar. At the other end, Fear down the left hand side has been excellent when he had the ball. His crosses have been causing havoc, but one fell to Scott McDonald, who set up Clay, and his shot just went wide of the post. But other than that, Peter, it's just been a typical derby. You know, fight, battling, fouls. The referee has had a good game in my opinion the first half, but no goal mouth action to report, Peter. As I say, the keepers haven't made any saves. Here at New Douglas Park, it's Hamilton 0, Motherwell 0.
Okay, Kevin Harper there, certainly with Oasis in the background. He's got the right jacket on, Ruffy, I have to be honest with you. But still waiting on that crucial goal. It could be one goal from someone there to settle it. It's that tight. Let's look at the Premiership and bring you the half-time scores across the country. Those 2 matches confirmed from last night and today, the early kick-off. It's Aberdeen 1, Celtic 3 and Rangers 2, Hearts 1. Elsewhere today, half-time, Dundee 0, Ross County 1, Hamilton 0, Motherwell 0, Kilmarnock 1, Inverness Cally Thistle 0 and St Johnstone 1, Partick Thistle 0. In the Championship playoff, Alloa 0, Airdrie 0, Wraith Rovers 0, Brecon City 0. In the Scottish League 1 playoff, it's Forfar 3, Annan 0, Peterhead 1, Montrose 0. In the Scottish League 2 playoff, it's East Kilbride 0, Cowdenbeath 0. In the Premier League in England, Everton 1, Watford 0 from Friday night, West Brom 0, Chelsea 1, and Chelsea are confirmed Premier League champions. Manchester City 2, Leicester 1, Bournemouth 1, Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 0, Southampton 1 and Sunderland 0, Swansea 2. Stoke City against Arsenal is the 5:30 kick-off. So there you are, right up to date with all the goals and all the action, and it looks as if from the evidence of what Kevin Harper was saying, Ruffy, it's going to be tense in that second 45.
Yeah, I think the point I took out of that was 6 bookings in the first half. That's why I thought at the beginning of the game, I thought a red card might be on shown here. Obviously, the longer this game goes on, the more tense it's going to be. Somebody on that yellow card might just do something silly, which could turn the game. So we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out.
Okay, join us for the second half. We will continue to monitor all the key games across the division just to see if there's going to be drama unfolding. You can also interact with us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Second half on the way in the football show here on STV2. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Alan Ruff and Gordon Smith are with me, Peter Martin here. Don't forget, Monday to Friday, we are with you throughout the season, and of course in the summer we've got more than a few specials, Ruffy, with some very special guests that we've been chatting to, and it'll give everybody a football fix over the summer as well, just on the off chance that they're not able to go on holiday.
Yes, and I think you've highlighted that this year is a big year for lots of clubs, lots of anniversaries of certain occasions, that which will always interest even the neutral supporter out there. You don't have to be part of the team to enjoy the chat that we've had with the guys that have been in.
Yep, there's a lot of good guests coming up. Do keep your eye out on STV2 for some of the special guests, and I particularly enjoyed this week's guest, Ruffy, Scotland manager Gordon Strachan. I thought he was relaxed, and of course you played with him at the World Cup in '82. It's great insight into some of the stories and the teams and the players. Yeah,
I think it's great. It's great for the viewers who listen in and see a different side of a person, who they have their own ideas of what the guy's like. But when they come in this show, as you said, they're very relaxed, and they just come across as just being a normal supporter, a football supporter who's in charge of a national team. And I thought some of the stories were absolutely funny. I hadn't heard them before, been talking about Aberdeen and Sir Alex Ferguson and all that kind of stuff, and I thought it was really entertaining. We know him really well, but it was so relaxing, and it was a great hour.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, not a good idea to run past Sir Alex Ferguson, tell him he's got his tactics wrong in a European game, but still a great story. But he was running at pace and his teammates were trying to hold him back because he was a fiery character as a player.
Yeah, it's not the kind of thing you would do, is it?
No. He wasn't too happy when I suggested that he wasn't good enough to get in the English Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
I think he was in the English Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was. I was just making the point that I had noticed that he was in the English Hall of Fame, and I don't think there were many Scotsmen who are in that, but obviously Gordon took it upon himself to say that was a great season he'd had and a wonderful time, so why shouldn't he be in it?
Yeah.
Is that when he was at Leeds United when they won the league?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, he said the best achievement was getting out of the old second division. Gordon, did you would have played against him on numerous occasions?
Gordon Strachan, I played against him. Mainly was at Aberdeen. When he came down to England, I was going abroad when he came down there, but I played against him at Aberdeen and Dundee as well, actually, when he was younger.
Yeah.
And I didn't think, when I saw him at Dundee, I never thought he was going to be the player. I think he stepped up a level when he went to Aberdeen. I don't know what it was. It's just maybe better players around about him. Maybe I think Dundee were using him as a kind of winger more than, and because of his height and all that, whereas Gordon Strachan had more to offer than that. He was more of a playmaker.
Yeah. Well, I think he attributes that progression to Sir Alex Ferguson, although some of the stories of every Aberdeen player that you could possibly think of from that era has a Fergie story, Ruffy, of the hairdryer treatment. I'm not too sure Derek McInnes replicates the way Fergie used to go about it, and Archie Knox. And I must just say, I think it's Archie Knox's birthday today, or they're celebrating it anyway, so happy birthday to him. There's a great man who had such a great career as an able number two.
Well, I was going to say that there. You see that managers, when they get appointments, they attract somebody who's loyal or somebody they've known, whether it's a pal or whatever. And certainly Archie has been identified by numerous number ones that he is the one that they want by his side for obviously his knowledge of the game, and whether it is as a pal and somebody you can bounce off of. And he certainly had a lot of big high profile managers to be number two to.
Yep, so look out for some of the programmes coming up over the summer months. We will not leave you, we'll keep it all going on Peter and Ruffy's football specials, and then of course hopefully back with you Saturdays 2 till 6 for the new season as well, which will be, I think, another stage of Gordon Scottish football coming out of a very difficult place. 4 for 3 and in 1, I can tell you, a goal back for Jim Chapman's side. Is it too late, or is this an unbelievable fight back on the way? I see just a gradual progress. Money's coming back into the game. I hope we start to invest in young Scottish talent given the chance to play on the highest platform.
I would like to see that. Under 17s did not too badly in the tournament there. They're losing that late goal goals, a bit of a shame, or else they were through in their group. But it's going to be an interesting summer, because even before the league starts again, we're looking at a scenario. Well, Peterhead have scored again, so Peterhead have got a good lead now against Montrose, so that's good for them. But as I say, the interesting thing is you're going to have Scotland are going to be. We're going to find out whether we're any World Cup chance by June the 10th to play England, and if we lose that game, I think it's all over for us in terms of World Cup promotion. But also there's quite a few of the Scottish teams are playing early in the European tournaments this year, Peter. We've got 3 teams in there. Aberdeen, Rangers, but I think Rangers will be playing before Aberdeen have to play. I think they're around before.
Well, I think at that point you mentioned, incidentally, Peterhead's goal scored from the penalty spot from Rory McAllister. Aidan Smith scored from the penalty spot for Annan Athletic in that game against Forfar. Yeah, interestingly enough, I think we're waiting on the result from the Dutch Eredivisie tomorrow to work out when some teams are going to have to come back earlier and play earlier in the Europa League, all to do with the seeding.
Absolutely, it's all seeding and the coefficient and where you are and all that sort of thing, because as I say, it's getting earlier and earlier. That's why I was always in favour of looking closely at changing our season, so that we don't have much of a winter break, a summer break. We have a bigger winter break and can rest up and then play through the period where we're starting to play quicker, because a lot of these teams we're playing, Peter, in European competitions are mid-season. And that becomes a lot tougher when you have to go and play against a team who's already 10, 12 games into the season, when you've just started. Airdrie a goal down, Alloa scored.
Yeah, well, you look at the situation now. You've got Brendan Rodgers having to prepare and bring in brand new players, and he's going to bring in, say, 2 or 3 players, and then they've got to fit in with no games.
Yeah.
They're right into the qualifying round, and so you have to break these players in. So you're right, it could be moved about that you could be better prepared, because it seems to be the preparation that the managers aren't too happy about.
I know, and a lot of the players as well. I mean, a lot of them plan a lot of things for summer. You get this scenario with Rangers, haven't you, where you've got a couple of weddings are being affected by the change in the season. The start of the season's a lot earlier than usual. I think the players are all back at the beginning of June, I think, quite early in June.
John Robertson, there's a name from the past, and this one is playing for Alloa, has scored that goal against Airdrie. So it's one apiece there now, Ruffy. That's finally balanced. This is the nervy point. This is why it's exciting in the playoffs. Yeah,
I think this is one. I think at the start of the show we said we thought Alloa would win it, but not enough. We thought Airdrie had the ability, but you're right. It's now evenly balanced now, and obviously with Alloa getting the goal, you would think maybe Airdrie would be on the back foot for 10-15 minutes, so the next goal is obviously going to be crucial.
Yeah, when some of the playoffs go to penalty shootouts, Gordon, that's when you really need to be a man with nerves of steel. Were you one of those people, when the manager said who's taking a penalty, you could step up there?
Yeah, I always agreed to take them, yeah, definitely. And I also, there's a shock, Wraith Rovers are 1-0 down at home to Brechin after drawing the first leg, and that's a bit of a shock too, that Brechin are now 1-0 up in Kirkcaldy. Yeah, well, I always felt, in some clubs I was the penalty taker, at Kilmarnock and then at Manchester City. I was the penalty taker. It was Brighton. Kilmarnock and Brighton, I took the penalties, but if there was ever a penalty shootout or anything like that, I was always one of the people that would say I would take them.
Yeah, you need to be one of those players who feels confident and calm when you step up there, Ruffy. There's no point looking at you at penalties.
No, I remember.
Very rarely saved them.
No, I remember we were in a playoff penalty kick competition. We all get in the centre of the circle and we're on a wee sort of a huddle, and wee Bertie was obviously chatting what was going to happen, and then he obviously said penalty kick takers, who would like to take the first penalty, and the centre half put his hand up, and wee Bertie says, well, you having a laugh? A right confident booster for the first penalty kick.
That's what always shocks me. What Peter says may be right about the fact is that I've sometimes seen penalty shootouts and the striker at the club, one of the main players isn't one of the 5 players. You go, wait a minute, that's your job, is to score goals. Surely a penalty is your best opportunity to do it, and they're not one of the 5 penalty takers. I never understand that.
Yeah, how important is it that a captain stands up to be counted when it comes to penalties?
Only if you think you can score, I think.
Yeah, I can remember actually. I remember the Wraith Rovers League Cup final in '95, and heavy criticism of Paul McStay because he didn't step up until penalty number 5 when they thought he should have stepped up for penalty number 1.
I know, maybe they felt that penalty 5 was going to be the crucial one, and it turned out to be that, didn't it?
It's got to be confidence. It's got to be somebody who has had a good game, or they've scored already and they've taken penalties before, and you feel comfortable with that. There's no guarantee they're going to score it, but at least if they put their hand up, you say, oh, well, he's... But it's then, when the centre-halves and the right-back and the left-back start sticking their hand up, you then go, well, wait a wee minute here.
Ross Caldwell scored that goal for Brechin City. Can I just say to you, Gordon, I just wonder what the implications are for... I don't envisage John Hughes being at Raith beyond the summer. I think he came in on a short-term basis to try and help them, just to keep himself ticking over. You can be out of football and forgotten for a while. Sometimes, though, doing somebody else a turn is to the detriment of your own CV. And I wonder if John Hughes has done the right thing going into a Raith Rovers side that...
I know. Well, the thing about it is, and before I answer that question, Kilmarnock have gone 2-0 up against Inverness, so Inverness now struggling, and this could be relegation day for Inverness if they lose this game. Certainly, I think they're really struggling if they lose this game. But Kelly are 2-0 up. No, you're right. I think that John Hughes, to me, even in terms of what he's saying about the players, everything like that, he also... I was reading during the week, actually, they were saying that Gary Locke's record was better and got sacked than John Hughes' record's been with Raith Rovers. They have gone in a bit of a downward spiral, not going well. I think he'll walk away. I don't see him staying on here, and particularly if they're actually relegated. If they lose today, they're relegated, so I don't see him staying on after that.
Yeah, I don't think, well, having spoken to him, it was a short-term gig anyway, Ruffy.
Yeah, it is a short-term gig, that's why he's taking it, but again, he's got to size up his options. Are there clubs out there champing his door, wanting his service, and you might have to say to yourself, I'm led to believe, I think Raith Rovers are a pretty well-run club. It's a lovely stadium. I don't know what budgets are. Managers keep talking about budgets. Obviously, they want to take the club further than what they are, But again, he has to make a decision, that he was out of the game there he has been out of the game for a long time, so they might have to make a decision. He might have to start again.
This would be a tremendous blow for them if they went down, because see at the start of the season, Peter, I remember they were one of the teams who were in the area regarding the playoff section, weren't they? They were either just 4th or 5th or whatever. They were round about there, and then all of a sudden they've gone on a terrible run, and this is like stabilising it now in respect that they've got a chance of staying in the league, but now they're losing at home to Brechin. This could be a bit of a worrying time for them.
Yeah, Jordan Jones gets his 3rd goal of the season in that match at Rugby Park. Kilmarnock 2, Inverness Cally Thistle 0, and it could be one of those days when it's a long drive back up the road when you know that the trap door is firmly open and you're looking towards the championship, Ruffy, and that's what Richie Foran and the Inverness players are staring at right now.
Yep, and as far as Rich is concerned, it's a big decision time for him. He might not be the one who makes it, but it'll be interesting to see what the board think of what he's been doing behind the scenes, because they'll have to make a decision. Is he the right guy to bring them back up again? And we'll have to wait and see on that one, but they've had a pretty miserable season, Inverness, compared to seasons gone by when they've been doing well up the top of the league, doing well in all the cups, and relegation would be a massive blow for them.
Yeah, if Hamilton and Motherwell draw today that game and Inverness do lose, we think they will, there'll be a 5-point gap with 2 games to go. Inverness have got 2 games after that, and it's Dundee away and then Motherwell at home. So, they've got to get 6 points then from 2 games when you think about it, and the way the kind of record they've had, you'd have to think, no. I thought after last week they would get a big lift from that, and I thought they would go down there today with Kilmarnock's bad home record and get something from it, but it's obviously not working at all, and Kelly 2-0 up.
Yep, absolutely. And Nathan Redmond gets his 8th goal of the season. Middlesbrough 0, Southampton 2 is the scoreline there. And Borough are heading back down to the Championship. It is so difficult sometimes for teams coming up to try and just steady the ship and stay in the Premier League in England. The one thing I would say, Ruffy, and I think this is something that a number of people have mentioned, just to try and categorise, I think the Premier League is certainly one of the most exciting and certainly one of the most difficult competitions across Europe. I don't think it's the best league technically, but I think it's certainly one of the most exciting, one of the most competitive.
Yeah, you've got to say that, because at any time you look at the television, every stadium's full. You know, if you've got a season ticket at most of these clubs, you're getting value for money. You might not be getting value for money every week and winning, but you're getting value for money by the certain players that you've got on your side who are quality, but the teams that are coming to your stadium are bringing awesome quality. So you're going along there, and it doesn't matter whether you're playing Man City, Liverpool, Man United. If they're coming to your ground, you're excited, you're going along there, you're seeing the quality players that are on show. So that's why it's an exciting lead. But there is a big gap. There is a big gap in the quality of the top and the bottom. You can see that by the number of points in the league and how far these are. I mean, Leicester are an exception last year, but again, it's reshuffled themselves. I think it's particularly if you're a Man City supporter, I think next year's a big year for you, because I think Guardiola will have said, right, okay, I've failed here, you know, and I don't fail very often. You know, I'm wanting better players in here, and I think Man City will be the team next year who will splash the cash to win that championship.
Yeah, strangely enough, I also think Manchester United will be one of the sides to splash the cash quite considerably. They might not want to splash as much of it on agents as they have been doing over the last couple of years, but nevertheless, I do think they'll make a real push to make sure that they are in the mix. If they're not going to win the league, then make sure that they're in the battle in the top four places. They might be in the Champions League next season as well, so they're going to have to buy players potentially for that if they can defeat Ajax. I think Ajax's arrival in the Europa League final, Gordon, is a real shot in the arm for the likes of Brendan Rodgers at Celtic, because they've done it with a young team. They've developed a lot of their own players, and you know, this is a blueprint that I think, you know, Brendan Rodgers at Celtic wants to do, as well as supplementing it with 2 or 3 real bits of quality. Yeah, definitely. I think that that's a great thing. I mean, it's quite funny that because Dutch football has fallen away at one stage. Going back to even our era, roughly me, our era, Dutch football came on fantastically well. I mean, it all started. I think it was Ajax in the 70s. I think even before Ajax, Feyenoord were even ahead of them, weren't they? Yep. So Dutch football was great. They had a strong team during the Cruyff era and all that. Then later on, when you had the Boers and people like that as well, Kluivert and all these people, they had fantastic then, but then Dutch football seemed to slide away, and they're even at international level, they've not been doing it for a while. So it's good to see Ajax coming back again, and Dutch football maybe is turning it around and will come back to a good level, because that's what they did, Peter, in the past. I mean, they were great teams, but a lot of players were sold on, weren't they? I mean, even the likes of your top players. I mean, who was? You think of all the ones that were sold on into Italy and Spain, all that. Well, Dennis Bergkamp went to Inter Milan and then eventually decided to go up for Arsenal. The last great side of Ajax, I think, was '95. Kluivert was in that side. Danny Blind was in that side. You know. And they had so many good players in their team, but I think that was the last great
Seedorf and people like that, wasn't it?
But even at academy level, they were the blueprint of what everybody should be doing. There was a documentary on of kids at 6 and 7 or 8 and what they were doing with them, and then there was the kids at 16 and 17. What they were doing was identifying kids at 16 and put them in under 18 teams, you know, to bring them on. So they had the sort of a blueprint, but like every other country, there is a bar and spell when these kids don't come through, and everybody starts scratching their head. I know. What is the blueprint now?
I know. What I thought was good for a time was they were the first ones to do the total football concept, which was kids football, like not to have them defined in one position. Allow them to play different positions. It is to build up their knowledge of the game in general, but also then to try and determine which position they were best in, because a lot of the time, and it happened in Scotland certainly when I was younger, I don't know if it still does, people identify a position for you and say, oh, you're this or you're that, and that's you in that position.
Would you want the starting 11 from that 95 team and the subs?
Yeah.
Because they had 9 players all based in Holland and 2 foreign players in that Ajax side. Edwin van der Sar was the goalkeeper. Michael Reiziger was the right back. Danny Blind, Frank Rijkaard, Frank de Boer, Clarence Seedorf. Finidi George was the Nigerian. Edgar Davids, Ronald De Boer, Jari Litmanen and Mark Overmars. And the substitutes were Fred Grimm, Winston Bogardt, remember him?
Yeah.
And Kanu,
yeah,
that went to Arsenal, Patrick Kluivert, and one Peter van Vossen.
Really, he was
so
there
there
too.
You have it too. There's the 95 side for you.
Yeah, tremendous.
They had
top class.
As I said to you, I think it was during the week, they had a progression of these players moving on together as we did under 23. I was telling Peter that when I played for Scotland in the under 18 side, I was 17 at the time, and we got through to the FIFA semi-final, the under 18 team, and we played Holland at Ibrox, and they beat us 1-0. This was 1968, and in that Dutch team was Johnny Rep, Neeskens, the Van der Kerkhoff brothers, and just the other three omit me, but in 78, when we got to Argentina, they were all in the full squad.
Yeah.
No, there were 6 or 7 of them in that under 18 team, were still in that team in 78.
Yeah. No, I know the development of players was a major factor, and as I say, you know, you can go through from the past a lot of the Dutch names you mentioned. I mean, you even look at the 3 Dutch players that were in Milan in a great team, Gullit, Rijkaard and Van Basten. You're not going to find 3 better players like that, but you were mentioning other players like Seedorf and Davids and all that. They had fantastic careers, didn't they? I mean, they all went into big clubs in Europe, in sites of Spain and Italy and all that. And as I say, the Dutch, they disappeared for a while. I don't know what happened. I don't know why their football just deteriorated or whatever, whether they changed their system or whatever, but they're working hard to try and get it back, because the Germans did that. Germans of late, in the last 5-6 years, or maybe even slightly longer than that, were working hard again to try and re-establish their ability and their presence in the game.
I'll tell you, there's a fight back on here, 4 for 3 and in 2. Maybe they're not dead and buried. It's as simple as that. Jim Chapman's side staging the fight back. That really would be a huge turnaround. It's 5-4 on aggregate now. Also, I can tell you, Southampton have missed a penalty. They're 2-0 up on Middlesbrough at the Riverside Stadium. So I think that's done and dusted that game as well. You mentioned there that the Dutch football and the German football are all trying to restructure and you know, and make sure that they're producing stars of the future. We are also restructuring. It's just taken us 20 years to try and get it right, Gordon. Although you know, this week I think we could be in for another Rami. You've spotted the goal.
Motherwell have just scored at Hamilton.
Motherwell have the goal there at New Douglas Park. It's going to be a crucial goal for the Fir Park side. They've taken the lead in the Lanarkshire Derby. Will that be the only goal of the game? They are in front, and what a huge goal that could be for the game. And I'll tell you right now, no surprise, Gordon Smith, Louis Moult scoring.
Yeah. That was always the advantage that Motherwell had over Hamilton. As I said, Hamilton have got a better defence, but one thing Motherwell have got is a capability of scoring. Louis Moult is also a player who's getting a lot of attention just now, could move on as well, but he's got a great goal scoring record.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, Ruffy, when you get down to the nitty gritty of games, nobody really cares how the goal actually goes in. It could go in off your ear. You don't really care. And the ball whipped into the box, and it comes off Louis Moult's shoulder and just finds its way into the back of the net. He won't be caring. He'll be walking away like that, as if I've just hit it from 30 yards.
Yeah, and by next week it'll be a tremendous header. You know, just grow arms and legs. You know that he's positioning for it. But yeah, that has been Hamilton's problem, not scoring enough goals. You know, and the first goal would be crucial. I noticed Motherwell left the boy Jules, who was culpable of a couple of goals there in the last couple of weeks. So maybe they've strengthened their defence a wee bit and lightened that. But Hamilton will now have something to do, because you would think Motherwell would be able to hang on to that.
Yeah, can I give you a little update from the German Bundesliga? We like to throw in scores from everywhere. RB Leipzig were leading Bayern Munich by 3-1, Gordon Smith, in that game. And then somehow Bayern Munich managed to get it back to 4-4. And in the 95th minute, Arjen Robben has scored the winner to make it 5-4.
That's that game worth watching.
That's one of those games your head in your hands.
Absolutely, but big goal in Kirkcaldy as well. Wraith Rovers have equalised against Brecon, so Wraith are back in it, level on aggregate as well, so that one's got a bit to go. They've got 23 minutes to play there.
That's that penalty shootout we were talking about, Ruffy. I can see it happening in Kirkcaldy as Inverness get a goal back against Kilmarnock. 2-1 at Rugby Park now.
Yeah, they're fighting for their lives up there. You know, that it's a horrible situation to be in, but they'll fight right to the end. I've just noticed that you were talking about Man United strengthening for next year. There seems to be a verbal agreement with Real Madrid for the boy Rodriguez to go to Man United next week.
He's not really. I don't really think he's done it at Real Madrid, to be honest with you.
He just remembered for the goal in the World Cup.
I remember him. He started a bit in the World Cup. He got a bit of attention, but any team I've seen him for Real Madrid, I would say he's decent, but not. He hasn't been a standout.
Yeah, I'll phone him and tell him that, Gordon. That you're not really happy with him.
He's not worth the 50 million.
He's not worth it. Exactly. I can tell you, Matty Smith has been sent off for Montrose. So now both teams with 10 men. That's going to be interesting. Peterhead against Montrose. Alec Fisher scored the goal for Inverness. Is there a comeback on there? It's certainly going to be, stick with us, because I feel as if there's a few more goals that are going to make it really, really nervy. Wraith Rovers getting back into it, making it 1-1 in that game. It could be the penalty shootout. That's the dreaded one where suddenly you just fall in a heap and then wait for your teammates to pick you up if you miss if you miss the penalty.
And careers can be done in by a penalty miss, and sometimes your whole career that's what you're remembered for, missing a crucial penalty. The one just we're talking about penalties there, the first one just sprang to mind was Dixie Dean's against Parkhead. Was it Milan?
Playoff,
Milan.
Penalty shootout,
They looked so confident when they went up, and obviously went so high and wide.
Can I just say that you might not remember this, Gordon. You might, because obviously you're the fountain of all knowledge. 1972, that night, Inter Milan, Dixie Deans put the ball over the bar. I think that was also the night that Rangers defeated Bayern Munich in the
semi-final.
Quarters of semi-finals to get to the Cup Winners' Cup final.
Yeah.
And it was a rare night. The reason why I mention it was because a rare night where two Glasgow teams, the
played
two
at the
big
same
teams,
time.
played at the same time in Glasgow.
Yes, I think you're right. Actually, I think that is good.
Just going to
good
write that
memory.
down, Ruffy. I was so
Peter was right again.
I'm all right there.
Right.
One right.
I'm pretty sure that I remember that because they always try to avoid that. You can imagine nowadays the mayhem that must have been caused by that. Two major games in Glasgow in the one night, you know. So they were trying to avoid it now, obviously. But Forfar have scored again. So Annan pulled it back to 3-2 from being 3-0 down. But Forfar have gone 4-2 up. Do you know that's 16 goals in 3 games between the two of them?
Wow.
That's 60. The last 3 games they've played, certainly the fans are getting their money's worth in these games, aren't they?
Yep, the Vence is on top. And Voto scored the goal for Wraith Rovers, incidentally, in that match. So it's Wraith 1, Brecon 1. It's just bubbling along nicely. This is what you want, the excitement of it all. I mean, right now, if you're a Hamilton Accies fan, Ruffy, you're saying to yourself, Motherwell could go 3 points above them. And Accies are now looking and thinking, let's look at Rugby Park. What's happening there as well? It's one of those days where it's nail biting for them.
Well, that's the end. You know, we all thought, we thought that Inverness were going to possibly win that one. But even I said, taking a point, if Inverness could get another goal, it puts them in touching distance.
It does.
Whoever loses that Hamilton Motherwell game with 6 points at stake, you're 3 points behind. So, and you've got a home game, your last game. So,
Hamilton. If Hamilton lose today, their next game's away to Ross County. So that's a tough game, and then their final game's Dundee at home. So that's their 2 final games. So it would be Inverness. I say you wouldn't rule them out at this stage. If they get a point, would be not great, but it would still help them a lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and of course, I can tell you, Jamie Bain scored the 4th goal for Forfar that maybe gives Gary Boland's side just a little bit of breathing space. I just wonder, as you mentioned that, of course, Dundee not out of it. They're behind at the moment, Ruffy. They've got it all to do as well. Neil McCann will know. He'll be looking for something from them here.
Yeah, well, obviously that's what the Dundee fans were upset about at home. they had that bad defeat, and that turned everybody. And you obviously won the last 2 games, but it's home. You have to get the fans behind you. That's the ones you have to win. And if they did get beat today against Ross County, that would just set the fans back again.
Well, as you say, Neil McCann's come in, and the 2 wins he had were both away from home. It's the first home game he's had since he took over, and they're losing. And funnily enough, they're at home again next week.
Yeah.
The next, is it during the week? Their match is during this week.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I think this week, Ruffy, the games, I think in midweek, it's well worth actually maybe taking a wee journey out to them, because there are some fabulous games. Motherwell against Kilmarnock, as Gordon had mentioned, Ross County against Hamilton, Dundee United Falkirk will be the playoff return leg from the Tuesday night. And Tuesday night, Dundee United Falkirk the first leg, and then it's Friday for the return leg. And then the Wednesday is Dundee Inverness, Cally Thistle, Rangers Aberdeen, and St Johnstone against Hearts. So of course, Celtic not playing to the Thursday
night, Partick Thistle.
Yep,
that'll be a big game as well. But they're all big games now. They're all massive games, and as Gordon said at the beginning, that's the good thing about it, is they're all alive, and the supporters will all want to be there to see which way the twists and turns are going to go.
Yeah, and Thursday's a night, Ruffy, where usually we can actually go midweek to quite a lot of games. It's the type of night where Gordon and I are waiting and expecting maybe an invite to the Alan Rough suite. It's just a thought. I'm just throwing it out there on the basis that, you know, Gordon very rarely goes to a game without a starter, a main course and a suite.
Exactly.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
You get
obviously I've got a few contacts there, and I'm sure I could get his in for a tenner.
Surely when it's Alan Rough Lounge, when it's Alan Rough Lounge, you can surely get his in. Is it you charges in?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to get
Does he make the money from it?
We're just like him. Anyway, we're getting to the nitty gritty now. We're down to that last 15-20 minutes where the fans start to look towards the referee. Every decision, the fans start to boo at the referee as well, because with Louis Moult scoring that goal, the tension inside New Douglas Park will be unbearable for the Accies fans, but Motherwell just hoping a second goal would just put it beyond any doubt. I still think Dundee looks safe, Gordon. You know, even if it doesn't go according to plan today, I just think the implications of Motherwell Hamilton.
Yeah, I think so. It's in their own hands, obviously, with the games they've got left too. But if Motherwell were to win, then they go, and Dundee lose, they go a point behind them. But they're still in a good position with games left. I mean, they've still got Hamilton to play. So the team that are sitting second bottom, in that case, when Dundee have got an opportunity to play against them and maybe beat them, because the game is down at Hamilton as well. So maybe Dundee.
Is that the second last game?
It's the last game. The
last game Dundee.
Last game Dundee go to Hamilton. Yeah. So that might suit them, because Dundee maybe are more comfortable away from home, because the 2 wins they've had so far have been away, and now they've lost at home. Maybe today if Ross County win, but then the next game's at home as well, Dundee. And then they've got the last games at Hamilton. So as I say, that's what's great about the way that happens with these playoffs. Now the league games being after the split and everybody's playing against each other, it makes it a lot more exciting. It really does. It's far better than what we saw before. They brought in the actual relegation and playoffs and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Dundee have a penalty, so maybe this is where the fight back starts for Neil McCann's men. This is a big penalty call. Dundee 0, Ross County 1. Liam Boyce with his 22nd of the season. Is this the moment when they get back into the game? We'll keep you right up to date with that. Of course, we were talking there about some of the managers who were looking to recruit players in the summer, and I can tell you Darren O'Dea has scored it. Of all people, a centre half walks up to take the penalty.
And possibly the captain of the day. And he stood up. I think he took one before, but certainly that's a big shout, and that might just give Dundee the lift they need.
Yeah, that's a crucial. He'd be happy with a point as well. That wouldn't matter. I think that point would go a long way to keeping them secure.
Definitely, that's a good point. Even, I mean, they've still got time. I mean, there's still another 12 or 13 minutes to go in normal time. So Dundee could still win the match, but they'll be delighted. Keeps their record going unbeaten if they even get the draw today. 2 wins and a draw after the terrible run they were on. So they'll be delighted with that.
Yep. Okay, and Motherwell have thrown on Freer for Bowman, so they clearly want to try and get something down the flanks as well, see if they can get a bit more supply into McDonald and Moult. Motherwell leading by a 1-0. Louis Moult, as ever, popping up with the all-important goal in that Lanarkshire derby. It really is tense across all the games now, and if there's a goal at Dens Park, we'll keep you up to date with that. But at the bottom end, Inverness, can they find an equaliser to somehow salvage a point in that game? They looked dead and buried at 2-0, but they managed to get a goal back through Alec Fisher. It's 2-1 there. We're talking about what Celtic are going to do. Rangers have got Aberdeen and then St Johnstone to finish. This is a big game for them. I think Aberdeen deserve credit for their second place finish, but I just wonder about all the Scottish teams who are trying to qualify for Europa League group stages. We haven't had that. I can't remember the last team to actually get to a group stage other than the team who would win the league. Gordon Smith.
I know. I think you're right. I don't think so either.
Such a long time.
We've got a bad record. That's probably why our coefficient in Europe is quite low, isn't it? We're not getting the results. I mean, Celtic last year getting to the group stage was excellent because that was the first time we've seen that for a while. But they didn't come out with a lot of good results. But in fairness, they had a really hard section. Probably the hardest group it was of any of the ones that came in. So this year they'll want to do a bit better. I mean, they had a bad start last year, even in the playoff rounds, and eventually they did well to get through. I mean, you think back to the very first game of the season that Brendan Rodgers is taking Celtic, they lose in Gibraltar. Do you know what I mean? And you think, how's things going to go? And then you could never have foreseen how he turned it around from there.
To be fair, Gordon, Lincoln Red Imps were a really good side.
Top class.
I'm not sure if every Celtic manager has to actually have a nightmare to start with. I mean, Gordon Strachan had a Media Bratislava.
He did, that's right.
Neil Lennon, what was the name of the team again? He had a nightmare as well.
5-1 or something.
Yeah, and he ended up, with one of those nightmare results in European football before they eventually. I mean, when you look at it, when you build your own side, Lennon, guides a team to 2-1 win over Barcelona. Celtic got thumped last season by Barcelona 7-0. We were there, Rocky. It was a joy to watch Barcelona, but if you're a Celtic fan, it was painful.
Yeah, but it was great to watch. It was just amazing, how they manoeuvred each other. They all seemed to be telepathic. They were making passes and there was no player there to make the pass to, but all of a sudden there was a player. That's how far we're saying. And I know we don't have the stats in front of us, but it'll be interesting to see what the Celtic team was in Gibraltar to what it is now. I mean, I can't remember offhand.
I don't think there'd be a big difference, because even in terms of some of the big games that Celtic have had this year, even I think with the cup final, I think it was 9 Ronnie Dyler signings or net Ronnie Dyler players that played in the League Cup final. So that first game of the season probably was a team that was close. Maybe the likes of, I don't know whether Armstrong and people like that had fought their way in at that point. But it would be interesting to know what the Celtic team was. Right.
Yep, okay. You can give us your thoughts on that at Peter Anoffee on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter Anoffee. Lots of messages coming in. I've just so many goals kicking in now. I haven't had a chance to read some of them out. Hi guys, what did you think of Declan McManus's wonder free kick against Brecon City the other night there? I didn't see it. Did any of you two guys see that one, which has caught me off? Michael Slay says, why didn't Lee Griffiths get sent off for swearing at the ref when he was subbed last night? Of course, you can actually get it now for foul and abusive language as well. You can get a yellow card for that, and in some cases, depending on how sustained it is, you can get a red card.
You didn't have to be a particularly good lip reader as well to see exactly what he was saying. The camera was quite close up with TV, wasn't it? I think even the commentator apologised at one time, I think, because of it, because it was quite clear what he was saying, and he also was having a go at a linesman earlier on as well, or the assistant, as we call him.
Was that a ridiculous booking in the first place, Gordon?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, honestly.
I think it was, but it was. We saw him then as well having a real go too. So he got away with it on 2 occasions, didn't he?
And Kenny Mann Clark said, do you think there should be a national conference with the top 10 in the Lowland League and the top 10 in the Highland League joining up to form a conference in Scotland like England?
I think the problem is just that it's regional because of the finances as well. And I'll be honest with you, I think that I put it forward before as well, I think the lower divisions and the top level should be regional. I think you should have a Premier League, a Championship, and then 2 regional leagues as well to save the teams, the journeys and all that they've got to make. A lot of the players are part-time. It's a lot of travelling when you've got to play, like Berwick playing against Elgin or whatever like that. That's tough going.
There's a great picture on Twitter and Dundee's website of Darren O'Dea jumping into the stand, and all the Dundee fans have swarmed around him. They're practically choking him after that penalty goal.
The booking as well.
But it's a big goal, yeah. Well,
booking, certainty.
That's another thing about it. Puts the dampener on it. Yeah. I love people being able to celebrate, Ruffy. I mean, especially if it's a noise up as well, as long as it doesn't incite a riot.
Yeah, well, that's the one. You keep thinking about. What happened at the Hibs game at Hampden. And some people will say, well, that's what happens if you run into the crowd. You run over to the crowd and the crowd all surge forward. Some people get injured, and that's the only reason it's there. It's not for to spoil the celebrations. It's just so that nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right.
Let me just take you through, by the way, an interesting one. We were talking about that 7-0 game that Barcelona. I was just looking there at the teams from that game. Celtic had De Vries in goal, whatever happened to him. Gamboa, Lustig, Toure, Zviachenko and Tierney. The middle 4, Roberts, Brown, Beaton and Sinclair, and then Dembele up front. What a huge learning curve it was for those guys coming from that and realising the level that they were playing at. Interestingly enough, Ter Stegen in goal, Roberto, Piqué, Umtiti, Alba, Rakitic, Busquets, Gomez, Messi, Suarez and Neymar. So they looked not bad.
Not a bad team, they were all right.
I thought it was taking it too far, and somebody said the Dembele miss was a turning point of the game.
Yes, well, somebody actually stopped us.
My God, Wraith have lost another goal with 84th minute. Brecon City are 2-1 up against Wraith.
Well, we're getting into the latter stages, Ruffy, of the game. Bournemouth 2, Burnley 1. Josh King has scored the goal there in the Premier League. One guy said to us they thought the Dembele penalty miss was significant. I said, it would have been 7-1. They were that good. But again, every team, when you look at it significantly, when you're building good teams, have had a significant thumping along the way before you actually learn the levels. And I think Brendan Rodgers' side has managed to do that. We talked about Gordon Strachan's, we talked about Neil Lennon's. I mean, I can remember going as far back as Aberdeen getting thumped with Liverpool. Do you remember that, Ruffy?
Yeah.
Liverpool in the great days with Dalglish and Souness playing for them, and Fergie's Aberdeen. I think they get battered 4-0, and then slowly after learning how to deal with all the European football, you go on, and just in the last couple of days was the 34th anniversary of Aberdeen winning the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yep. Right. An amazing occasion. I'm sure Aberdeen will be celebrating that royally, and quite rightly so, getting all the players together. It's a tremendous thing in any club to win something like that, so I think you tend to, once you get to 20 years and 25, you just celebrate it every 5 years. You don't wait for anything significant like 50 or something like that. You just keep celebrating, and quite rightly so.
It was interesting today. I was listening to Idaggy Johnson, and one thing he said in an interview was he was at Barcelona for 2 years, and he said, what did you achieve? He says, nothing. We won nothing. 2 years. He said, then Guardiola took over, and he said, what did you win then? He went, everything. That first season. He said they won everything the first season, but they won nothing before that.
But even that night when Barcelona obviously won 7, and then somebody was saying, they do that to a lot of teams when they come here, 7. And I think if you look at a lot of the Barcelona home games in the league, they are a lot of 6-0.
Yeah.
They seem to, when they turn you over, they turn you over big time.
Ruffy, you only need to look at the goals in the last year that Suarez, Neymar and Messi have scored to realise how many big wins they have, because those guys are scoring barrel loads of goals, so there's quite a few teams get hammered by them.
Alan Troughton got that goal for Brecon in that match against Wraith, and that could be a crucial goal, Ruffy. What a body blow that would be for Wraith Rovers, because apart from anything else, there's a certain romanticism attached to Wraith Rovers that I think this would be a real blow for them.
I think Wraith Rovers come into the same category as St Mirren. You know, I think Raith Clovers were a big club. We all know where what they did in Europe and everything, and certainly if you look at the players throughout the year, and there's just been a downward spiral. You know, it's just got really out of control. I think a few years ago it was all about the owners of the club. Just remember me who they were. French. We had the French owners, and we had the influx, and all the French players coming in, and that went pear-shaped, and then they tried something else, and the club, again, it seems to be behind the scenes, but I thought behind the scenes they had got their act together, and they were on the up, but obviously in the footballing terms they haven't. So you look at I haven't been up at Raith Rovers for a long time, but that stadium itself is a big time stadium.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a wee ground, it's got a lot of history involved with it.
The thing about it is as well, today's game, I mean, because of the way the playoffs are shaped, they're playing against a team who have finished 4th in League One. So not as if they're getting even against Alloa and Airdrie, who are even better. So if they'd beaten Brecon, then they'd one of a game against a better team, even Alloa or Airdrie, who have finished higher up than Brecon finished. So this is a bit of an embarrassment if they actually go out in the very first game of the playoffs.
And can I tell you, Marcus Habers had a gilt-edged opportunity to win it for Dundee. All he had to do was just header the ball away from the goalkeeper, and it was in the back of the net. Right at the death, he had the chance to win it for Dundee. It's still 1-1.
It's unusual, because he normally is the one that's been putting the ball in the net for them, Peter, hasn't he? So, I mean, everybody misses chances, to be fair, but that would have been a good victory for Dundee today. If they'd got another win today, they'd been in a strong position, and you would have said that's them completely safe.
And Connor Salmon has also had the chance to just make it comfortable for Kilmarnock, going past the goalkeeper, sliding it into the back of the net, but it's ruled offside, so it's still 2-1 to Kilmarnock. We're into the dying seconds of the matches now. We'll bring you the full-time scores. We'll get your reaction to your favourite team and what's happened today on a Saturday afternoon, when it looks as if Motherwell have been able to go to their great rivals Hamilton at New Douglas Park and snatch a 1-0 victory. It could be a huge goal from Louis Moult. It could have major implications for Motherwell staying in the division, and Hamilton possibly having to go into a playoff to try and stay in the Premiership. And the teams that are waiting will be either Dundee United or Falkirk for that playoff final, Ruffy, which is by no means a given when you consider the quality that Dundee United have at their disposal and the young talent that Peter Houston has been developing season in, season out at Falkirk.
Yeah, I was looking at the sides. I was looking at, you're right, with Falkirk, they have got a lot of young players. And then I went to the Dundee United side, the side that was out the other night, and I was amazed at the amount of experience they've got on the side. You know, they've got obviously Tony Andrew, they've got Flood, who's been there for a while. We've got the goalkeeper who's got bags of experience. So there are a lot of experienced players in that Dundee United. I think this is a really difficult one to call.
And can I tell you something, that East Kilbride's goalie Matt McGinley has just saved a penalty in the last seconds. Kyle Miller had the chance to give Cowdenbeath a win at East Kilbride, but I think everybody jumping, dancing about, can't believe the East Kilbride goalkeeper is the hero. It's still, I think, swaying towards Cowdenbeath when you consider they'll get a 0-0 from the first leg, Gordon.
Got a home game, yeah, they'll be happy to get that, because East Kilbride are a good side. Kilmarnock, as a result now, Kilmarnock have won 2-1, Inverness have lost, so you know, from that big boost they got last week to get the win, put themselves back in the hunt a little bit. I think that today's result is probably the finish for them. So that's them. They've lost, and they're still sitting in 28 points, albeit 4 points behind Hamilton, who if that finishes 1-0 too. But 2 games to go. Are Inverness going to get 2 wins from the last 2 games? Difficult to see. Yeah,
it could be a difficult time for the Inverness board, because they will have to look and discuss Richie Foran, his potential replacement, or indeed whether to back him in the championship. And on the evidence of the results, Ruffy, that would be tough. I tell you, Raith have just equalised 2-2. What about that? Right at the death, Ruffy. John Hughes must be delighted.
Yeah, I think Kirkcaldy will have erupted with that one. You know that obviously you look as if you're down and out with very little time left. I think we're at plus something in injury time there. So
it's 90 plus. Does it go to penalties, Peter?
Yep,
right
penalty shootout.
Right.
That will be unbelievable for the players as well. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. 2-2 Wraith against Brechin right at the death. John Hughes must have been looking and wondering where's it going to come from, although at that point, Ruffy, when you're 2-1 down, you just throw the keeper up, everybody, and then say to the hit man, get stripped, you're on as well, because you've done the team talk last week. 2-2.
You're right, it's but again, you're so late in the game, what do? Do you take your chances with penalties, or do you go forward and leave yourself loose at the back? It's a massive big one, but I'm sure Yogi will have something to say with the penalty kick takers. Well, you were talking about Inverness there. I mean, I don't know what happened with Yogi leaving Inverness, but I mean, that could be available yet again, and would he want to go back there? Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they have enough money to actually coax him to go back there. But Declan McManus, talking about him earlier on, somebody messages us, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Declan McManus scoring a wonder free kick in that match against Brechin. At Brechin's Park, but now suddenly he's popped up with a crucial equaliser right at the death there in that playoff match. It's incredible stuff. Are we going to see a winner in that game? Stay with us for it. We've got full times coming up all over the place, although I wonder what the reaction will be from the Hamilton Accies fans. We'll hear from Kevin Harper at that dramatic game at New Douglas Park. Louis Moult looks as if he could be the saviour for Motherwell. We were speaking to the fans beforehand, and I think you could tell the tension. Anybody but Hamilton Accies to win was how one Motherwell fan described it, and of course one Accies fan just looked and said Motherwell in the playoffs on the basis of the two of them going head to head today. It looks as if
finished at Hamilton, Peter. Motherwell have won, and
Motherwell have won that game. So drama at New Douglas Park, and we'll be getting a flavour of that from Kevin Harper in a game that is just absolutely incredible. Just looking, Louis Moult. Oh, they'll be jumping all over him, Ruffy. I'm just looking at the pictures.
Yeah, he's a hero, and you've been saying it all season. When you've got players like Moult and McDonald, you've always got a chance, and he's came up with it.
Let's go to New Douglas Park. Kevin Harper, full time. Hamilton Accies against Motherwell.
Full time here, Peter, in New Douglas Park. It finished Hamilton 0, Motherwell 1, and the story of the second half was pretty much the same as the first half. A lot of long balls, a lot of fight, a lot of scraps, but the goal came from a wide free kick from Frere, put it into the box, and there was Louis Moult. Goes to header, it actually hits off his shoulder and loops over the goalkeeper into the back of the net. But when you're down there, you're second bottom, you're playing in a derby, it doesn't matter how you win the game, how the ball goes into the back of the net, it goes in, you win it. Louis Moult has scored 6 goals this season against Hamilton, all 6 that Motherwell have scored. It's been Louis Moult, and that's the difference, Peter, just the difference of having a goal scorer. Hamilton's second half huffed and puffed. Motherwell went deep after the goal, but they created absolutely nothing, and there was shouts of Martin Cannon out here at New Douglas Park. It finished Hamilton 0, Motherwell 1.
Yeah, I've got to ask you, Kevin, were Motherwell deserving? I can hear the Motherwell fans in the background. Were they deserving? I'll come back to you on it just after the break, because I can hear the noise is absolutely incredible at New Douglas Park. Over 2,000 Motherwell fans there, Gordon Smith. Yeah. They sold their allocation, and you can hear the noise is incredible in the background.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a derby match, but it's in a crucial match. It's almost like a cup final for both sets of fans there. So this was a big game today, and a big result for Motherwell, no doubt.
Huge result for Motherwell. They win the Lanarkshire Derby, and they move 3 points away from their great rivals Hamilton Accies, who are now contemplating possibly a playoff. There's still games to go though, but we'll be back at New Douglas Park after the break. ever on a Saturday afternoon, and at New Douglas Park our main game was Hamilton against Motherwell. Louis Moult, the hero, with a goal after 66 minutes. It's quieting down a little there, Kevin Harper. Were the Fir Parkers worthy of their win in the end?
I think probably, Peter, they just had a better quality. You know, as I said, Hamilton huffed and puffed, but up top they have absolutely nothing. You know, there was no direction, you know, from the striker. Created no chances, Peter, apart from, you know, Ali Crawford hitting over the bar early in the first half. But other than that, they were nice and when they got the ball down in midfield. But up top, they were so lacking, and it shows, you know, the goals that they've scored. But Motherwell over the piece with that bit of quality, with Moult, Fair and McDonald were probably just sneaked it, I would say. You know, and fortunate for Motherwell, the goal comes off Louis Moult's shoulder, but you know, it's so important. I'm guessing when he's in that changing room, the manager will not be bothering where it came off, as long as it went into the back of the net.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to let you go, Kevin, and get a word with Martin Canning and a delighted Stephen Robinson. The two managers will have something to say on it and reflect on the scoreline. As far as the full-time scores are concerned, we can give you the update on what's happened right across the country. Scottish Premiership, confirmation of that result last night. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 3, Rangers 2, Hearts 1 from the early kick-off today. Dundee 1, Ross County 1, Hamilton 0, Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 2, Inverness Cally Thistle 1, and St Johnstone 1, Partick Thistle 0. The Scottish Championship playoffs, Alloa 1, Airdrie 0. That match now into extra time. Wraith Rovers 2, Brecon City 2. That match also going into extra time after that late equaliser from Declan McManus. Scottish League 1 playoffs, Forfar 4, Annan Athletic 2, Forfar now going through 6-4 in aggregate, and Peterhead 3, Montrose 0. A 4-1 aggregate there for Jim McAnally's side, and East Kilbride 0, Cowdenbeath 0 with a late penalty save. They are keeping the scores level between East Kilbride and Cowdenbeath. In the Premier League, Everton 1, Watford 0, and West Brom 0, Chelsea 1. Confirmation of the Friday night results today. Manchester City 2, Leicester 1 from the early kick-off. It was Bournemouth 2, Burnley 1, Middlesbrough 1, Southampton 2, Sunderland 0, Swansea 2, and Stoke City against Arsenal is the 5:30 kick-off. That's the confirmation of the games north and south of the border. You can give us your view at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Give us your thoughts on the matches today. If you're a Rangers fan, what did you make of the 2-1 win over Hearts? If you are a Hearts fan, you were at the game, or indeed maybe just watching the game today live on the television. Give us your thoughts on yet another defeat for Ian Cathro's side. 6 wins in just 24 games. Give us your thoughts on that. We'll be back right after this quick break. Smith and Alan Ruff are with me, Peter Martin, every Saturday, 2 o'clock till 6. In the football season, we'll bring you all the goals as they hit the back of the net, all the action and reaction as well. Kevin Harper was a reporter out there at Hamilton in their game against Motherwell. Louis Moult, the difference between the two sides, with a crucial goal in the 66th minute. Elsewhere, it was a late penalty from Darren O'Dea to secure a point for Dundee against Ross County. It could be a big point for Neil McCann's side, just shows you their battling qualities. And elsewhere, Kilmarnock in the end just edge it against Inverness. They've won that match by 2-1, and I think it's a crucial win for not only Killie but a bitter blow for Inverness as they try to avoid relegation. But I think confirmation coming soon.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. This is a key game. I mean, we were saying most of the time we didn't think Inverness could do it. That result last week changed it about a bit, because especially knowing that Hamilton and Motherwell were playing today, Inverness go down to Kilmarnock, they win the match, they get within 1 point of whoever would lose today, and that would have been 1 point behind Hamilton. But as it is, there remain 4 points at this stage behind Hamilton Accies in second bottom. So 4 points virtually means, a win and a draw, but their goal difference is worse, which would probably mean they'd have to have two very good results between now, 2 wins possibly even in their last 2 games, and you just don't see it now. I think if I had to put my
watch now.
My money on it.
No, I mean Inverness.
I'm not saying put my money on it.
Inverness can only secure a playoff place.
Yes, at best.
At best,
yes.
It's as simple as that. I think
they'd settle for that, Peter. Though, if they could get a playoff place, they'd be delighted. But I don't think they're even going to be able to do that. No,
and I think the other thing, Ruffy, is if you were to go into the Dundee dressing room right now, you would not begrudge every player jumping around with Neil McCann celebrating, because they will be in the Premiership next season.
Yeah, and you have to say that they looked as if one of the teams that were before Neil went in there, they looked as if they were the team who were going to be in the playoff, because they were in free fall. They couldn't buy a win, and then all of a sudden Neil goes in there, he gets 2 wins, spirits are lifted. Obviously the dressing room gets lifted as well. Supporters are all heading in the right direction, and it's a good end to the season. But obviously Neil will, if he is going to stay there, he'll be setting targets if he is going to be there next season, that they don't want to go through this situation.
I think
again.
they want to keep him. I can't understand why the club, seeing what he's done and the turnaround that he's brought there. I mean, that's still a good result. Ross County are a good side, and to get a draw there, and that's 7 points from 3 games. I don't see why they wouldn't want Neil McCann.
Yeah, Alloa and their match against Airdrieonians is still 1-0 to Alloa. It's in extra time there now. Wraith and Brecon 2-2 from today's result there in extra time. No further goals at the moment. We'll keep you up to date with that. And over and above that, a quick word, Ruffy, for St Johnstone, 4th place. Great credit to Tommy Wright.
Yeah, Tommy Wright said that was his target. He wanted to finish the season strong. They're going to be in Europe again, which is fantastic for the club. It's great for a wee club like that to get away trip with the supporters, and it's great year on year.
Yep. If there's going to be a goal in the playoff matches, we will bring it to you here on this programme. It could even go to penalties. Don't go away. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show, and there's been another twist at Starts Park. Wraith Rovers have scored to take the lead in the match. Ruffy, 3-2, Ryan Hardy scoring the goal.
Yep, boys on loan from Rangers Football Club. Has come up with a goal. He got a couple of games with Rangers, didn't he? He looked as a young lad, you know, who was one for the future, but obviously getting the experience of being out there with Wraith Rovers, and be interesting to see whether they can hold on to that one.
Well, John Hughes called on his players to reach a certain standard. He has given them, a heck of a tongue lashing over the last couple of weeks, Gordon Smith.
Yeah.
But he's getting a response from them. It kind of flies in the face of quite a lot of people who just glibly say that players can't be shouted at. John Hughes will have given them both barrels on many an occasion.
Absolutely, and Big John's not the type as well you'd shout back at, actually. You see the size of him, and he's a big strong guy, and he's been an aggressive player. It's just changed days. I think a lot of people nowadays say you shouldn't do it. From our day, Ruffy will tell you this, when we played, you had to get used to that. That was part of the game, was half-time or full-time managers saying exactly what they felt, and a lot of it wasn't anything to do with football. It was just personal at times. If they weren't happy about what you did, am I right? Just like abuse, basically. But nowadays people say, oh, you can't do it. But he's been quite strong about it. He's been really looking, I think he's been very critical of their attitude as opposed to their ability. He's more or less been saying they think they're above it. They don't think they need to fight. They think they've got careers elsewhere if it doesn't work out from there. He was very critical of, in terms of the personalities and also the character of his players, and I thought that's maybe why we got a negative reaction to it. But to be fair, they were minutes away from losing this game today. Brechin were 2-1 up and get into the final part of the game. Wraith got a very late equaliser, and now as we're into extra time and we've had the first half of extra time, they've got a goal. They're in front. I mean, it's not finished yet by any means, but if Brechin were to score again, 3 each, and it finishes that way, it's penalty kicks.
Yeah, Tommy Wright has just made a statement after the game. As far as St John's are concerned, he says, I'm so pleased for the players and the supporters of the club. We've had a great finish to the season, and he deserves all the plaudits that are coming his way, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season. No big names on that side at all. Just players who go out there and work their socks off for each other. It seems to be a great group of players, and I think the fans appreciate that as well. And they have had some super results this year against the teams round about them and the teams obviously down below. But to be in Europe again for the size of a club like St Johnstone is absolutely superb. That's why I'm saying they should soak it up. Yeah, they did reasonably well, you know, but I think it's just all about being in Europe and getting that wee bit of experience and giving your fans a wee trip abroad, and let's hope it's somewhere nice.
It's interesting that he wasn't nominated for the Manager of the Year when you think, he just won today against Partick, and Alan Archibald was nominated, and I think it was because, as I say, the expectation was that Partick wouldn't be top 6, whereas the expectation for St Johnstone was that they would be, because he's been successful so far. But resource-wise, there's not much in it between the two teams. He's done a great job, but he's maybe not been recognised by his fellow managers.
Yeah, and in contrast to that, just looking at pictures of Richie Foran on the park at Rugby Park, and this is really kind of the aftermath, just discussing with the likes of Maurice Malpass the fallout from this game, the implications for Inverness Cali Thistle. It is hard to believe, Ruffy, and I hate to point this out again, this is a club that were celebrating at the peak with John Hughes at the helm a Scottish Cup win, and now a couple of years on and suddenly they're heading down a division.
Yeah, and again, if you look at the squad of players that they've brought, there's still a lot of these players there. I know a lot of them have had long-term injuries. Wee boy Dordan's been out for a while, but and Meekins was out. But certainly they've still got some reasonable quality players on that side. It's just not happened for them at all. And just once you go in free fall, sometimes you can't stop it. And
well, I'd be interested to know. You're right. I'd be interested to know if they had chances today, how many chances they had as well, because that's been the big failing with them. They don't take their chances, and all of a sudden they find themselves 2-1, 2-0 down to Kilmarnock and having to fight back. They got the goal, obviously, but as I say, they have got good players. You're absolutely right. I think that they should have been doing better, but they've had a very inconsistent season, and I think that Richie Foran, I don't know what he's discussing just now, Peter, but he must realise that his numbers are about up here in terms of any chance they've got of staying up.
And it opens up, obviously, a position as manager, Ruffy, because, or do they surprise us all? I thought Richie was a bold move by them, an inexperienced manager. It's his first big job, thrust from being a player to try and and steer them to safety, but it's just been downhill from there. And now they've got Dundee to play on Wednesday night.
Yeah, they're still grasping at straws. I mean, there's still 6 points up for grabs. You're still within 6 points of clawing somebody back, but it's about the other teams now. As soon as they pick up anything, they're in trouble. But they haven't been. They've won obviously last week, but they haven't been winning games. So there's nothing to say that they're going to go on a 2-1 undefeated run, because they haven't been able to do it all year.
I'd hardly call 2 games a run, Ruffy.
There'll be a run, any kind of run.
I know it was a run
right.
for you at Thistle at times, but not for the current squad here in Inverness. Just on that point, Ruffy, again, there's no point in hiding from the fact that this will open up a position that Paul Hartley's been linked with that job.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's what appeals to you. Do you want to be? We hear a lot of managers saying, "Well, I'm out of a job now, but I'm just going to wait until the job I want comes along."
Yeah.
Sometimes you can wait forever in that job. At least you know what this team's about. Again, you'd have to be attracted to it. There has to be some kind of package. You would also want to know where the targets are for the future. And if there's nothing else on the table, then you have to decide that's sitting there, and if you approach, you've got to make a decision.
What do you make, Gordon, of the other games that we've been discussing? We'll talk with Celtic Rangers shortly, and Aberdeen as well. I think they deserve tremendous credit for their season. But the live games that are going on at the moment, we're now in a situation where Forfar defeated Annan by 4-2. Peterhead defeated Montrose by 3-0. Peterhead are now going to battle with Forfar to retain their League One status. Yeah. Forfar with a chance to move up.
Well, it's interesting. I think that it's probably the correct game, because Peterhead are coming from League One, and they're now playing Forfar, who were challenging for League Two. So you have to say Forfar both got promotion, but Forfar was second best and could have maybe even won it last week. They had a terrible performance, a home defeat 4-2 to Annan, and they've turned it around today by getting a 4-2 win after getting a draw down in Annan when they were 2 goals down. So it's interesting to see that they played Annan, as I said before, they played them 3 times in the last week. 16 goals have been scored in those games between the 2 teams. So it's very exciting, but the thing is, now the final game now is Forfar Peterhead. So although Forfar lost out on getting the league championship and that would be an automatic promotion, they've still got a very good opportunity to do it. And Peterhead will be a difficult opposition, obviously. They've proved that today by a good win over Montrose. 10-man Montrose, you have to say, mind you, a man sent off. But so this will be a good game for and Peterhead. Good tie with the 2 matches there. I wouldn't rule them out to give Peterhead a really hard game.
It just shows you how exciting that regional league would be that Gordon's talking about. Brechin, Forfar, Peterhead, Montrose, Elgin City.
Aye.
You would have think that would whet the appetite for these people to say, well, we could get crowds into these games.
Yes.
If it was regional, the travel,
more rivalry as well.
Know a lot.
Correct.
And there's enough of them there of
I don't know why they don't consider it, because as I say that you've got a situation where they've got quite a distance now with teams down the south like your Annans and Berwicks and people that are having to travel a long way to play matches in the lower divisions. So why not regionalise it? And ultimately, on top of that, I also would suggest that if you regionalise it, you would also regionalise and bring in some teams from the Premier League sides, B sides, as they do in other countries, and you bring in your Rangers, Celtic B teams down this area. Up north, you've got your Ross Counties, Aberdeens, Dundees, all that sort of thing. And I think it would enhance the leagues as well.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we're probably just about 4 minutes away from the end of the other playoff matches, and Alloa still 1-0 up on Airdrieonians. That could be heading for penalty kicks. But Wraith are 3-2 up in Brechin City. They'll have to find a goal from somewhere. Brechin, if they're going to force it, 2 penalty kicks. Of course, it was a dramatic turnaround in that match for John Hughes' side, and boy, did they need Declan McManus, Ruffy, to get them back into that game and transform their fortunes.
Yep, that's what we said. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at, you need strikers who come up with the goods, the big time goals, and certainly that's another one for him. And he's been doing it regular, and I think he's worth a step up. You know, he's obviously scored a lot of goals year on year, so we'll have to wait and see where his career takes him.
Yep, okay. East Kilbride against Cowdenbeath finished 0-0 after their first leg, and right now, if there's any goal coming in the last couple of minutes, we will keep you up to date with it. You will hear from Stephen Robinson, the Motherwell manager, after a dramatic 1-0 win at Hamilton Accies. We'll also hear from Martin Canning too on this programme and get their assessment of the result today and the implications of it for Hamilton Accies. Looks as if Inverness could be up against it now, staring at the championship, but a playoff place could be there for Hamilton Accies. But there are still a few twists and turns to go in the Premiership. Of the teams in the top three, Aberdeen lost by 3-1 last night to Celtic. Brendan Rodgers happy with the performance of his side, he mentioned, and of course he is looking at a team that don't look as if they're going to lose a game between now and the end of the season. They're getting very close, Ruffy, to the Invincibles tag.
Yeah, although they will be going for that, and quite rightly so. I think the bigger carrot here is the treble. You know, we all talk about how difficult it is to win a treble, and certainly Brendan Rodgers in his first year, you know, would want that treble. You know, I think that's the big one. Obviously, you want to win the cup, and win your cup, you get the treble. You know, so it's a double whammy. So it could be, if it does come off, it'll be unbelievable celebrations to finish the season like that. But I still think Aberdeen have got something to offer. I think if Derek could get them organised enough, obviously not to lose 3 goals in the first 12 minutes of a game would help. To not lose a goal early in a game against Celtic would be a bonus. He has to get in there with some kind of game plan. He has to get the players to believe that, although as you said, five defeats this year.
5, yeah.
He has to get the players to believe that they can win a one-off game. But I think for that to happen, they would have to score first.
Yeah, and you're looking at the sides that are faced with the prospect of stopping Celtic, as well as Aberdeen, the Scottish Cup final. Partick and Hearts are the remaining 2 teams in this equation to try and stop Celtic going undefeated throughout the season. Can you see either of them?
No, I can't actually, no. I must be honest with you, I think that they would. Brecon have scored. Oh, wow. That was like... must be, I think it's 2 or 3 minutes to go as well in that match, so Brecon have equalised, and we are heading now for penalty kicks.
Yeah,
that'll be two penalty kicks.
I was just about to say to you, we're into the final 2 minutes of that one, and it will go to penalty kicks in both of them. Alloa Airdrieonians heading for penalty kicks, but that dramatic equaliser, I mean, the fans, they're treated to, this is what it's all about, Ruffy. This is what the excitement of the playoffs, that's why we needed this.
Yeah, we did, and all the games are living up to expectations. If you're at any of these games, you'll be biting your nails no matter what team you're in, because there's a lot at stake, massive at stake, and I'm sure whichever of the 2 teams comes out the winners here, there'll be massive celebrations.
Liam Watt, he could be celebrating forever and a day after that equalising goal. Then all of a sudden you start to look to the goalkeepers, Gordon, and see which one of them is, see which one of them's done their homework.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about it is, it probably can't, at this level, you probably can't do your homework all that well. I once, it was quite funny, I was once, I don't know if you ever have Campbell Money in again, I was at St Mirren, we were playing Dunfermline in a penalty shootout, and I said to him, have you any theory on what to do here? He goes, no, I'm just going to dive. And I said, well, you don't need to follow this. I says, but here's the theory I've got. In terms of the 5 penalty takers that are chosen, number 1 and number 5 will be the 2 guys that probably take them, and one or the other takes them, right? And I said, see the 3 in the middle? I said, they probably don't take penalties. I said, don't dive, just wait and see, and they might just shoot down the middle. And he said, okay, and it didn't even go to the 5th penalty. We won because he saved 3 penalties.
Well,
you know?
I cannot believe he's kept that a secret until now.
Yeah.
Some people might be looking at that. It didn't. To be fair, it hasn't done Raith Rovers any good, even from 25 yards. Never mind 12, because that Liam Watt 25-yard free kick has just flown into the net, Ruffy, to make it 3-3.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll want to hang on there and try and get it to penalty kicks, but it will be. You know, for me, penalty kicks is a lottery. You know, it's
the thing is, a goalkeeper, you're not under any pressure though, because
no, you're not.
It's the penalty takers that are under pressure.
That was an interesting stat you had, like Campbell Money standing still, and you know, but if you stand still and the balls are rolling in left and right, people begin to say to you, "What's that a day?"
Yeah, but you don't stand.
Diving?
You dive once it's kicked. Once it's kicked, you're allowed to dive. And what I said to him, by staying up to begin with, you might find that the balls only come down the middle.
Listen, if you do that, and you know, and Andrea Pirlo's taking the penalty, you just gather it in, because he's the type of player that's audacious enough to try the chip.
The Panenka chip, as they call it, isn't it?
I can tell you that Alloa, their match is going to penalties. It's as simple as that. It's going to go to penalty kick. Finished. Now it's nervy. Let me tell you that we have some reaction from the game at New Douglas Park between Hamilton Accies and Motherwell that finished 1-0 to Motherwell. Louis Moult, the goal scorer, Stephen Robinson, the Motherwell manager, talking now about just making sure the game was in their hands.
Listen, we've dominated large parts of games that have been involved here, and haven't had the rub of the green, and you know, we haven't maybe taken our chances when there's been a lot of balls getting into the box. So I thought we outbattled them and outstrengthened them, and when you have Louis Moult up top and that wee bit of quality, then it wins you the football match. Yeah, well, this is what this game was about, you know, making sure it was in our hands going into the last two games, and it is very much so. You know, we can't go down automatically now. So, you know, if we get the same support and backing that we done today from the fans that turned up, then it really is like a 12th man, and it is said willy-nilly at times, but they were superb today, and they've had a difficult season, and if we can get the same turnout and backing, then, you know, we aim to put a performance on and make sure we're safe.
Yep, a delighted Motherwell manager Stephen Robinson there. A lot of questions were being asked of Motherwell making the change from Mark McGee to Stephen Robinson. If he can just engineer another result in the remaining games, Ruffy, Motherwell's board will feel vindicated.
Yeah, but they will do. They won't want to get through that playoff position, and I thought the motivation for the players that were there who'd been through it a couple of years ago would be not to be in it again. You know, it must have been nerve-wracking, not only for them but personally for their families and everything. So they've got the result that takes them out of the automatic, but I still think they need something else to just drag them right out of it. And it's interesting, Mark in this morning saying that you should have stuck by me, and this wouldn't have happened. But it's okay saying that in hindsight, but there's still a wee bit to go yet. Yeah,
no surprise that Hamilton boss Martin Canning disappointed and frustrated with the result.
Frustrated and disappointed. I thought the game was exactly what it was going to be. I thought it was a tight, tense game. I don't think there was much in it. It was going to be one thing, one way or the other. And yet again, it's us that make the mistake. We switch off for a set piece, which has happened so many times. It's just, that's the last 3 games we've lost 5 goals off for set pieces. And no matter how much you talk about it, no matter how much you work on it, no matter how much you talk and tell them how important it is that you switch on, you can't switch off. If you're going to switch off at set pieces, and especially when games are going to be that tight, it's going to kill you. It leaves us in the same position now. We had to win 2 games, we still need to win 2 games. We need to now, out of our hands, if you like, we need to go and beat Ross County, we need to beat Dundee on Saturday, and hope that's enough. But it's going to be an uphill battle now to get back up above Motherwell. But we've got to make sure now Tuesday just becomes huge. Every game becomes bigger than the game previous, and we've got to now go and win on Tuesday. No, it's going to be difficult, but we've got to, because at the end of the day we've got to keep fighting. That's part of this club. It's part of what we've always done here. It's always going to be a big ask for us at this level to go and get our job done, but we believe we can do it. We still do, and it's going to be hard. But we need to make sure we pick everybody up, and we need to make sure we go again Tuesday.
Yep, there is a dejected man. Some of the Hamilton Accies fans far from happy with him. It's been a real roller coaster with him in charge at times. Just couldn't buy a result.
Yeah, I think the galling thing for him is, you know, obviously his defence is leaking goals, and him being a centre half, you know, and a very good centre half, you know, dominating centre half who would just go and win balls, and it doesn't matter what he's obviously been trying to get through to them. It hasn't been working. But again, they're clutching. They're just hanging on to anything that's available. They'll still believe that they can win games, and when the points are there, you'll still have to keep battling.
The big problem is that it's goal scoring is the major problem, Peter. They know that they're quite defensively tight. I said there wouldn't be much in it today, but Motherwell have more attacking strength than Hamilton have it. So if between the two sides it was going to be Motherwell were probably the team, the best bet to get a goal. And it's a shame for Hamilton because I think they've had more draws than anybody else as well, haven't they? I think there's about 14 draws they've had this season, so it's a tough one. I think Martin Canning's done a good job for them.
I have to say to you, Gordon, just to clarify, Ruffy's actually just winding on his tablet there just to get more information.
I want the penalties.
Yeah,
I want the penalties one by one as they go on.
Ferguson has just saved from Headlington, so it's still 2-1 to Airdrie. Jack Leach had scored from the penalty spot. Of course, Scott Leach's son, a former Motherwell player, and Andy Ryan was the first one up for Airdrie to score. Andy Ryan was in the team of the season as well, no surprise. And I can tell you there's been a brilliant save from Parry to deny Ian Russell, the Airdrieonians player. We've had him on the programme. It's still 2-1, a chance now to draw level there. It's drama, that's what you want in these games, but I always just get that feeling of, sadness for the guy who has to miss the penalty. You just never forget it. And Kirkpatrick has pulled Alloa level, so it's 2-2 now with penalty misses aplenty. And let's not forget Wraith against Brecon is also going to penalty kicks as well. It's nervy in that match. Both of them now down to the art of penalty kicks. I think it is an art. I think there's a skill to it.
I think it's art, but I also think it's a lot to do with Bottle at this stage.
Yeah,
definitely. It's the nerves are a big factor because you know if you miss, you could be the crucial one, and you'll get the blame from your supporters. And as I say, the goalkeeper's not under any pressure at all. You as a player are the one that's under pressure. Yeah,
Airdrie have just missed a penalty, so Alloa have now a chance to go ahead in that match. And I can tell you, Andy Graham has just scored the penalty, Ruffy, to put Alloa ahead. Jim Goodwin will be jumping about like crazy.
Is that Airdrie missed 2 now then?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Well, this gets nervous now, doesn't it? Yes. It gets, as Jordan said, it's all about Bottle. Whoever's coming up, whoever's stuck their hand up for the 5th penalty, hopefully it's done and dusted by then before it gets to you. But all of a sudden, it is you, and then you've got to stand up.
Especially as you say, when you're the crucial one. The one that's always tougher for Peter, I see the amount of times when the 5 are taken, and then you're calling up the people who haven't taken one yet.
Yeah, the rank rotten players with no bottle. Yes, absolutely. I know that, Gordon. I've been there. Sean McIntosh has scored for Airdrie. I think Danny Handling has actually scored for Wraith Rovers, and Willie Dyer's just equalised in that match for Brecon in the penalty shootout. It's drama. This is incredible. It's non-stop information coming in here.
We're getting close to the end for the Alloa Airdrie, though, aren't we? We're nearly. They must be in about the 5th penalty now, really, aren't we? In that game?
We're getting down to it's getting to the point now of the sudden death where, and I can tell you, Ryan Hardy for Wraith has saved that penalty has been saved. Ryan Hardy's penalty has been saved, so a chance now. And would you believe it, Waters has just scored for Alloa. So that ball is in the back of the net, and Alloa are through. So what about that? That is incredible. The drama, Ruffy, of that last, knowing that you're going to hit that penalty to win the game. They're all jumping all over him as we speak.
Yeah, I think the whole place will erupt there, and obviously there'll be a pitch invasion, but you don't really mind it at Alloa. It's fantastic, and well done to Jim Goodwin. He's had a hard shift since he went in there, took himself out of the team, and now they've got the benefit of that, and all credit to him.
And Liam Watt, after scoring a wonder goal in the match, misses from 12 yards. He can hit one from 25. He can't score from 12 yards. He's missed it. It's one each. Alloa now just probably at this moment wondering who they are going to play. Will it be Wraith or Brecon? It's one each in penalty kicks, and it's now the drama of that for this match. Wraith against Brecon is absolutely incredible. By the way, we should say, yes, as you've mentioned there, well done to Jim Goodwin, the PFA Player of the Year awards. Jim was like, once the awards were over, thank you, Peter, and good night. I'm going home. Just ultimate professional. And I can say Paul McLean from Brecon has missed his penalty. Again, I wonder, John Hughes will be just standing there looking on. He's seen it all before, Rob. He's experienced.
Yeah, he certainly has, but he's got nothing to do with it. He can't do anything at all. He's got to believe that his players can stand up and be counted and just slot them away. I mean, some players make it look a lot easier than others, just sliding it into a corner, but I think I'd be going for the big blast right down the middle.
Yeah, well, Wraith Rovers lead 2-1 from 3 penalties each at the moment. John Hughes will not care how dramatic the win is as long as they get it and live to fight another day, Gordon.
Oh yeah, definitely. He won't care because they just want to be in it.
Well, Bobby Barr has just missed for Wraith.
Oh.
Can you believe that? This is a chance to draw level again, Gordon.
Right.
It's incredible stuff, absolutely amazing.
Oh, see when you actually do, I mean, it's actually good when you get penalties getting missed and the pressure goes on the next team and then they have to score and then sometimes they miss it. It's a very exciting finish to a game.
I also think it's a tremendously false situation, Ruffy, when you console the player who's missed the penalty, because you cannot believe they've done you in
I know.
for the chance to get through to a playoff final or at least stay. Because another thing about it, on a serious note, Ruffy, it has implications for players' futures in the summer.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people's contracts will be up, and obviously if you stay up, you've got a good chance of getting your contract renewed. If you go down, then the manager and the owners have to look at the budget for next year, and all of a sudden you might not be in that budget.
And Alan Troughton makes no mistake to make it 2 each. Brecon now level after that penalty miss there. And I'll tell you, we are hoping now, the 5th penalty is basically a sudden death penalty. We are hoping that they realise that we want to try and get these penalties in before the break. That's an absolute stonewall certainty. But it's now down to the sudden death, because everybody, this will be the 5, Gordon, who've been picked, and then after that, and Declan McManus makes no mistake. 3-2. Brecon must score this penalty, Ruffy, or it's all over. Wraith Rovers will have won on a penalty shootout.
Yeah, well, I have to say I'm all behind the boy for Brecon. I wouldn't like anybody to be missing this goal.
No,
with so
this
much
is the pressure.
This
is the pressure playing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's at that point that you don't really want to come out for the next couple of days. I mean, it's just inconsolable when really it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be made to feel that way, Ruffy. You should just think you're part of a team, and he scores. It's 3 each. He doesn't need to worry about feeling bad. That ball's in the back of the net.
As Gordon says, it's the people who didn't want to take it.
People who didn't want to take it. I weren't considered good enough to take it. Now they're up, and it's sudden death.
This is when you start hiding. No, I never said I was taking the 6. I was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Excuse me, could you put your boots back on? Come over here.
I think we get to the situation where I always think sometimes goalkeepers go up and take penalties.
Sometimes they do.
I mean, that's all right if you're. I think the Colombian or Chilabert, he used to be able to take them, but I can tell you Scott Robertson has missed the penalty for Wraith. If Brecon score, Ruffy, they are through. That is incredible. In the sudden death, that is incredible. Brecon have the chance. After the drama of Wraith being ahead, this is it. It's down to the last one, and I think now the Wraith fans cannot believe it. It's just a run back, and then what would you do if you're taking that last penalty, Gordon?
Just give it a bit of power, hit it as hard as I could.
Andy Jackson has scored it. Brecon have scored the penalty. What about that, Ruffy?
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, we're talking about celebrations at Alaba. There'll be certainly celebrations at Brecon. The place will be absolutely delirious, and I suppose the guy who scored that winning goal will be the hero forever in Brecon.
Think how the Wraith people will feel though, and the boy that just missed that last crucial penalty there.
Yeah,
he'll get blamed by the fans for that one. That's a shame.
Absolutely. The great sympathy. There's the high and the ultimate low of it. But I have to say, Gordon, that's the excitement of it. That's what you want. I don't even think it should go to extra time. I think it should go straight to penalties.
Yeah, I agree with you at times. I think what's the point in extra time? But because especially when it's a home and an away game, it's over 2 legs. Because then, as we were saying earlier, the home team obviously getting another half hour at their own stadium gives them an advantage, but that didn't happen today. We've seen Brecon force the game, get a late goal, and all fairness to them, they're through. Playing against Alloa were 12 points ahead of them in the league, Brechin finished fourth, but it'll still be a tough game between the two of them.
Yep, okay, that is incredible there. You got the drama. We've had Stephen Robinson on, we've had Martin Canning on from the drama of the Lanarkshire Derby. We're going to talk about the games coming up in midweek, which again, it looks as if Inverness will be heading down to the Championship, but who's going to be in the playoff? Motherwell really gave themselves a huge boost today with that 1-0 win over Hamilton Accies. Can Celtic get to 100 goals? That's what Brendan Rodgers has been talking about as well. We'll discuss that and give you all the full-time scores next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show on a day of drama, not only in the Premiership but in the playoffs as well. Brechin celebrating a dramatic win over Raith Rovers. Just incredible how it all finished. It looked as if Raith were going to go through after extra time, but there was a late equaliser and then a penalty shootout.
Yeah, amazing. We changed a few times during the actual match itself. We thought Raith are in trouble. They came back, they equalised, they got in front. Brechin get late goal as well, then goes to penalties and people missing. I mean, I would love to have seen it, watched it, because definitely there was a few errors made. You wonder whether the penalties were good, they were saved, but it certainly is a big result because Raith, that's their opportunity to stay in a good level, to stay in the Championship. earlier in the season, as we mentioned earlier on, Peter, Wraith were actually challenging for a playoff place. They were either just in the in fourth spot or fifth spot. They looked as if they would be one of the challengers to actually maybe play for that.
It wasn't that long ago they were going to Ibrox and getting Rangers a game.
Well, that's right, yeah.
I mean, that wasn't that long ago that they were a team up there capable to take on Premier sides and cup competitions, and they've just went in freefall.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the high has to be Andy Jackson. I mean, he scores the winner, stays calm, sends the goalkeeper the wrong way, and Brecon are celebrating. They live to fight another day, Ruffy. And I think you don't get the champagne out. There's a job to do still.
No, but still you're going to celebrate, and unfortunately, as we spoke about it in penalty kicks, there's heroes and villains, and it's great when you're the hero, but it's horrible when you're a villain, because you've got to now take that on board. You'll have a restless sleep the night. I don't think you'll think all over what you did wrong, what you could have done better, how you've let everybody down. But you shouldn't be like that, because it's a team game. You were big enough to go up and take it where others wouldn't, and you've taken the chance and it hasn't worked for you.
Yeah, let's look at the full-time scores across the country on this Saturday as the season gets ready for the fitting climax, not only in the last games in the Premiership, but of course Scottish Cup final on the horizon, and Aberdeen and Celtic will lock horns in that final. But last night it finished Aberdeen 1, Celtic 3. The early kick-off today was Rangers 2, Hearts 1. Dundee 1, Ross County 1, Hamilton 0, Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 2, Inverness Cally Thistle 1, and St Johnstone 1, Partick Thistle 0. The Premiership table, here's how it looks. Celtic with 100 points and 30 points behind them in second place. Aberdeen and a further 36 points back is Rangers in third place. Great for St Johnstone, Ruffy, finishing fourth. Thistle may well think they've still got a battle ahead, but it's a tall order to try and catch Hearts now.
Yeah, unfortunately they've got Celtic and Thursday night. You would think the way Celtic are playing just now that step up is just a wee bit too much for them.
Yep, and let's look at the Championship playoffs. Alloa 2, Airdrieonians 0, and Jim Goodwin's side will feel absolutely delighted about that result, and they will now play Brecon. It finished Wraith Rovers 3, Brecon 4 after a penalty shootout. In the other League One playoff matches, Forfar 4, Annan Athletic 2, and Peterhead 3, Montrose 0. So it's Forfar against Peterhead. And the first leg of the League 2 playoff, East Kilbride 0, Cowdenbeath 0. There was late drama in that match as well. Cowdenbeath, well, I wouldn't say missed a penalty. East Kilbride keeper saved the penalty to keep it at 0-0. The Premier League in England, Everton 1, Watford 0 from Friday night. West Brom 0, Chelsea 1, which confirmed Antonio Conte's side as the Premier League champions. Manchester City 2, Leicester City 1, Bournemouth 2, Burnley 1, Middlesbrough 1, Southampton 2, Sunderland 0, Swansea 2, Stoke City against Arsenal kicked off at 5:30, and the latest score is 0-0 in the Sky Bet Championship. That match kicking off at 5:30 as well. It's still 0-0 at the moment. We'll keep you up to date with any developments there before the finish. So that's how it looks after a day of drama. We heard from Stephen Robinson, delighted that his side are in charge of their own destiny. Martin Canning's side, Hamilton Accies, have to battle it out and wonder if they are going to be in the playoff. Inverness Cally Thistle look doomed. They look as if they are heading towards the Championship as the team relegated from the Premiership. It's hard to believe a side that was lifting the Scottish Cup a few years ago. As far as this week's concerned, lads, there are some interesting games. Motherwell against Kilmarnock, Ross County, Hamilton, and of course the first leg of the Premiership playoff, Dundee United against Falkirk. This is all on the Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, they are interesting games. The Ross County Hamilton one is probably the most, because from that point of view, Motherwell will be very interested in just to see how Hamilton do in that game. If Hamilton can't win there, if Hamilton lose that game, then I think second spot for them, second bottom, and I think Hamilton will be in the playoff. I think today's win for Motherwell was crucial, but as I say, some interesting games ahead as well. And I think Inverness I've got a tough game. I think they've got Dundee next as well, which is a hard one. They've got to go to Dundee, I think, and then they've got Motherwell at home. So I think Inverness bottom, Hamilton second bottom would be my forecast now.
Yeah, okay. Always good to do that with just a couple of games left, Robbie. It makes you look super intelligent, doesn't it? Robbie, are you going to stick your neck out and say something different?
No, I've got my predictions on the board behind there, and I'm not far away from the relegation, but I'm still hanging on in there.
Who did you say would be relegated?
Hamilton.
So
I had Hamilton, and
I had Hamilton as well. Would you?
But remember, Hamilton have been in the playoff position before.
Oh.
The players know exactly what's at stake, and they've come up trumps, particularly at the Hibs one. So they'll still believe that they're good enough to get themselves.
Well, let's pick up on that, Ruffy. I mean, Dundee United against Falkirk is a great game. I'm looking forward to it, and obviously try and make the journey up there. But you know, some people have suggested it's so heavily, weighted in favour of the Premiership side. Dundee United and Falkirk might run out of legs.
I don't know. The Premiership sides have still got games to play, though. I know what you're saying. The Falkirk have probably got it quite easy. They've got 2 games to go if they have to go and play against a Premiership side. But while they're having that rest, the Premiership sides, I think, have got 3 games. So it's probably the team that finishes second top in the Championship who have the best programme. Then Dundee United, though, the other side of it is that they'll be lifting their confidence from it. I mean, them getting a very good performance and result against Morton might give them a real boost. So they'll be getting into the Falkirk game now thinking they can do well. But as I say, by the time it comes around to playing against Hamilton or whoever it is they're playing, they'll also have had a few games, so I don't think it's much of a disadvantage. I don't really.
Of the games that are on the Wednesday, Ruffy, Rangers Aberdeen, I think it might not have anything at stake as far as the position in the league table. Is there something to play for as putting down a marker about where each team is as far as what they need in the summer? Aberdeen have had a fantastic season. They've got the Scottish Cup final to look forward to. They were in the League Cup final. They're second in the table. And again, Derek McInnes already mentioned they've silenced a few doubters.
Yeah, and as far as Rangers manager is concerned, he needs to keep on a winning run. He must keep the fans. There wasn't a lot of fans there today, but the game was on the telly. But he needs to keep these fans on board for the season tickets. He has to have them believing there's going to be drastic changes next year. He's already said he's telling people they're in or are out or whatever. And wins, just keep the supporters just hanging there, and but I think they need a wee bit more than that. I think they need more from up above to come out and say, look, this is the kind of player we're bringing in. As far as Aberdeen concerned, I think they've just done great. And Derek McInnes, the only thing he can do is win the cup, because even though he doesn't win it, it's still been an unbelievable season, and I suppose the supporters would agree with it.
I think they'll really be up for this game, Aberdeen. I'll tell you why, because they want their form to be decent before the cup final. They want I think a follow up from last night's game against Celtic. They want to say, well, we didn't play well for 12 minutes, but then we put in a very good performance. And also, you look back, the last game they played against each other, it was a bit of an embarrassment for Aberdeen to lose 3-0.
Yeah.
So I think they'll want to turn that around and say that was a total fluke. That game, wasn't a good example of where the two teams are at this present time. So I think he'll want to go to Ibrox and get a win.
Yeah, St Johnstone Hearts, I think, will be a point to prove for Tommy Wright that they are well deserving of the 4th place finish. Remember, there was suggestions that Hearts were going to be battling for that. It just hasn't materialised for them. And then it's Partick Thistle against Celtic on the Thursday, and Celtic looking at the end of the season with 3 games to go undefeated. They were impressive, albeit for 11 minutes of the game last night, Ruffy. But I think when you look at teams that have, 2 or 3 players that are special, that can win things, I cannot see anyone stopping Celtic.
No, I can't. And you look at the reserve, they've got, the players that are now bringing in, gradually, the ones that have been out for a while, they're coming in and they're just slotting in and they're just doing what the other people are that are suspended. And you would expect that they'll continue to do that. And unfortunately for Partick Thistle, they're next on the target.
Yep, okay. Well, what a day, especially at the tail end there. Penalty kicks, sudden death. Suddenly it looked as if, even after extra time, that Wraith were in the box seat, but the penalties just turned on their head. and it was really celebration time for Brechin, and great credit to them. It's a great club. I've been up there on a couple of occasions, and they are celebrating tonight. They are going to be playing Alloa in the playoff, and Wraith Rovers are relegated from the Championship. As far as the other matches, Forfar will be playing Peterhead for the League One battle, and East Kilbride and Cowdenbeath, they'll be battling it out for the second leg after a 0-0 draw. But up in the Premiership, I think the key result of the day had to be at New Douglas Park and Rugby Park. Inverness staring at relegation to the Championship, but Motherwell live to fight another day after a big win by a solitary goal from Louis Moult against Hamilton Accies. We will discuss that on Monday night on the programme at 7:30 on STV2, and look ahead to the midweek games as well. Thanks to Gordon Smith, thanks to Alan Ruff, and from myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching. Good night.